He again calls climate change an existential threat. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
This is an emergency.
Though President Biden did not declare a national emergency like some Democrats wanted on a day when 100 million Americans were under heat advisories, but on a trip to Massachusetts focused on renewable energy, he hinted that could be coming.
As president, I'll use my executive powers to combat the climate crisis in the absence of congressional action.
Republican Senator John Thune's reaction?
He wanted to talk about a climate emergency. What we ought to be talking about is an energy emergency.
Blaming the president's policies for record gas prices, though they are down a 37th straight day from that, 57 cents less now than the all-time high. Something else the president said raised eyebrows.
Announcing as a result of fossil fuel emissions, he has cancer, which he doesn't. That sent the White House press shop scrambling, attempting a cleanup, telling Fox News Biden misspoke about presently having cancer, saying he was referring to past skin cancer, which was removed.
Fox's Griff Jenkins, that cancer was non-melanoma. Today, the president will go to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, proposing billions of dollars in aid for communities to fight crime and hire police officers as Democrats in Congress push for a ban on so-called assault weapons.
It is inexcusable, unacceptable, un-American for us to sell combat weapons to a man like the shooter in Highland Park.
Senator Dick Durbin referencing the 4th of July shooting in Illinois that left 7 people dead. A House committee advancing a bill to ban those guns. The Democrat-led House committee investigating last year's Capitol riot has another public hearing tonight focused on President Trump's conduct and what critics say was a lack of action taken while his supporters stormed the Capitol. Prosecutors rested at Steve Bannon's trial on contempt of Congress charges for not cooperating with that investigation.
Coming up, Bannon's defense team's expected to try to convince the jury the trial's politically motivated. Bannon did offer this month to testify to the committee at a public hearing.
That's Fox's Jill Nato. America's listening to Fox News.
With each mortgage-free home, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices of America's heroes. These heroes need your help. That's Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, our nation's most catastrophically injured first responders and veterans, and even our homeless service members. Help these heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org.
Get money back with every gallon of gas you buy with the free Upside app. Just download the free Upside app, buy gas like normal, and earn serious cash back, no strings attached. From there, it's easy to transfer your cash to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card. Upside users have earned back over $200 million. Download the free Upside app and use code GAS95 for an extra 25 cents a gallon on your first tank. That's code GAS95 for an extra 25 cents a gallon on your first tank. Cash back is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:03 and Robinson saves you time. 70 is our current temperature right now in Columbia. It is going to be a hot day today, to say the least. Sunny, our high around 100 degrees. Clear skies tonight with a low near 72. Tomorrow, 102 degrees. Now, there is some complexity here. We're not under a heat advisory, and we're probably not going to be under one for tomorrow. I'll explain that here in just a moment. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth. In this 6 o'clock hour, former Missouri governor and GOP U.S. Senate candidate Eric Greitens testified in his child custody case Wednesday at the Boone County Courthouse in Columbia. His ex-wife, Sheena Greitens, also appeared in closed court. It is the first time the former governor appeared in person in Columbia for this case. The drought continues to worsen in mid-Missouri and across the state. There is no rain in sight. Maybe Monday, and it's not looking even good for Monday. Columbia has received just 1.14 inches of rain this month. That's almost 2 inches below normal. National Weather Service St. Louis meteorologist Alex Elmore tells 93.9 The Eagle that Columbia had 2.61 inches of rain in June. That was 1.6 inches below normal. Governor Mike Parson has called a press conference for 2 o'clock today in Jefferson City. He will outline actions aimed at helping Missouri farmers and ranchers. Missouri Department of Conservation Director Sarah Parker Pauley will join the governor. The directors of MDA, Missouri Department of Agriculture, and Missouri Department of Natural Resources, DNR, will also be on hand. Now, here is the criteria. Hannah actually asked about this yesterday, and it was a great point she made about why we're not under a heat advisory. The National Weather Service explains it like this. There's two criteria you have to meet. Either one, you have to be at 105 degrees for a heat index, where we're going to be at 100, or you have to have 4 consecutive days of 100 degrees or more of a heat index. So we don't meet either of the criteria. That is why there is not one that has been issued. Looks like the next possible day would be Saturday. We'll keep you posted on that. Today is your opportunity to see maps and provide feedback on millions of dollars in potential improvements to Columbia's I-70 and Highway 63 interchange. The State Department of Transportation will hold an open house from 4 to 6 at Columbia's Arc on West Ash. State Highway Commissioners have approved a $140 million reconfiguration of the interchange. It can come and go at any time. There is no formal presentation. 4 to 6 today at the Arc here in Columbia. A former Boone County clerk who is seeking the GOP nomination in West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District is blaming Washington spending for rising inflation. Taylor Burks notes the Consumer Price Index shows inflation at 9.1% in June, a 40-year high.
Our situation with inflation, the devaluation of the dollar, is because of the massive federal spending we've seen not just in the last 3 years, but the last 20, 30 years.
Egg prices now up 33%. Mr. Burke spoke on 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia. Residents in mid-Missouri's Mexico and Audrain County now have a new family medicine clinic with a doctor as well as a nurse practitioner. MU Health's new clinic is on South Clark Street in Mexico. It opened this week. It features Dr. Diane Jacoby and nurse practitioner Regina Hill. Many of our listeners know those two names. They've spent time right here in Columbia. Dr. Jacoby says she's excited to have moved her practice back to Audrain County, Mexico and Audrain County, with a large elderly population. The urgent care from MU Health will open in Mexico within the next month or thereabouts. And Columbia motorists will see lane closures once again tonight on heavily traveled Stadium Boulevard here in Columbia.
A contractor working for MoDOT will continue with pavement repairs along Columbia Stadium Boulevard tonight. The repair work continues tonight between Providence and College. Crews will resume tonight at 7 and will wrap up at 6 a.m. Lane closures will take place throughout the repair process. These repairs are the final phase in MoDOT's installment of a new driving service along the entire length of Stadium Boulevard in Columbia. Rachel Romney, Zimmer News Network.
All right, our news is brought, Rachel, thank you. Our news brought to you by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. In sports, the Cardinals and the Royals are off again today. It is still the All-Star break for those two teams. There are a handful of teams that are be playing in Major League Baseball today, but everyone else resumes tomorrow. That includes the Cardinals and the Royals. The Cardinals are at Cincinnati tomorrow evening. Great American Ballpark. That's one of Adam Wainwright's favorite places to go. He loves that park, and he's taken a lot of pictures of it in his, and he likes to do that on his Twitter page. That game will be tomorrow, 5:40, the first pitch. So that will cut into Dr. Tobler's show tomorrow afternoon here on the Eagle. It's an early game because they're Eastern time in Cincinnati, 5:40 first pitch tomorrow. Royals hosting Tampa Bay tomorrow evening at Kauffman. That will be at the K. Rays coming to town. Weather certainly will be a factor. It is going to be a hot one even for an evening game tomorrow. Our sports is brought to you by Missouri Heart Center. Comprehensive cardiovascular care in the heart of Missouri. MoHeartCenter.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. All right, John, thank you. Right now, we do have clear skies. It's a hot one, 69. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. As Rachel Romney reported, the Stadium Boulevard work here in Columbia starts up again tonight at 7 o'clock, goes till 6 tomorrow morning. They'll be working essentially from Providence over to College. Be prepared for that. A lot of equipment will be used on that. Also, crews will be working overnight again on Highway 63, roughly the area between the essentially Conley Road road there on 63 in Columbia all the way down to Grindstone, up and down both ways. So you'll see a lot of activity there as well. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer, and why can't for the longest time Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
Nobody bought into that, did they? Yes, they did, because I got hit up. Did you hear Biden said he had cancer? I said, I'll bet you. Now, I didn't go the $1 million bet because he is in bad shape, and I don't think anybody is denying that anymore. When you have MSNBC and CNN asking officials, hey, what about Joe's health? He looks bad. He looks frail. But people, does he really? Was that a slip? Does he really have cancer? And he just accidentally said it out loud? He was talking about climate change, where he growed up in Delaware and how it was a cancer hotbed, and the air was so bad that his mom had to turn on the windshield wipers to get the film of oil off the windshield, because back then the world was ending, 60 years ago. That's my reaction, too, just like Stephanie Bell had.
But he in the White House has kind of clarified or tried to clarify, what's the verdict? Does he have cancer? Does he not have cancer?
They cleaned it up real nice, man. I have a theory, conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And chicks, you want to pay attention to this. Dudes,
we're already off to a great start.
Guys, I'm sure I'm not the only guy that's ever done this. I'll preface it with, when I was younger, right, young guy, I didn't have the wherewithal to go to a woman in a relationship and say, hey, this isn't for me. I couldn't do that. I couldn't go to another human being because I'd be afraid I'd hurt their feelings.
You didn't just act like a jerk on purpose, did you?
That's exactly what I did.
Oh, Branden.
I didn't. I don't behave that way anymore, and here's why. Well, because I haven't had a girlfriend in probably 2.5 years, so I haven't had to do that. But here's the thing. I would do that because I didn't have the wherewithal to go and say, hey, this isn't working out for me. You're great, but it's just not for me.
It's a lack of confidence on your part.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that fear. I had fear. I was afraid I was going to hurt somebody's feelings. And I would act a jerk just so that they would eventually have to dump me. And it worked 100% of the time, every single time. I wonder if that's what Joe and this administration is doing. They're like, yeah, I should quit. I should get out. But I can't. So we're going to this thing up so bad that they're going to go 25th Amendment on me. What do you think about that theory, Mr. Hauswirth? He's our news director. I'll defer to you, sir.
I can't speak about the 25th Amendment because that's speculation. But I will say this. He clearly went off script. That clearly was not in the script. And there's a lot of different articles out there.
But what do you think about the theory of him intentionally...
I think he wants to be president. I really do. But the Telegraph here, Branden, very quickly, the Telegraph, which is a European publication, they are saying that he was apparently referring to his past treatment for skin cancer.
Yeah, he had skin cancer, and that's what it's about. That's what everybody is saying.
But also they said, and this has not been reported that I've seen in the American media, that he had apparently referred to Glasgow as part of England. Now, I don't know how many people here would even know that, but I guess they're saying it is. But clearly he had gone off script when he said that. That was not in the script.
What do you think about that theory, Steph? He's doing this intentionally because he has that fear. He lacks the confidence to go and say, yeah, I should quit this because I'm not the guy for the job.
I don't love conspiracy theories, but I kind of do. And I would be more in line of the conspiracy theory that the real Democrats in power behind him want him out, and so they are purposefully tripping him up and causing him problems, even on top of his own problems, because they want to see him get out because they want to be able to control everything.
I'll tell you something else. So I'm looking at, when I heard the cancer thing, I'm like, okay, he doesn't have cancer, but let me go and get my facts and stuff. So I'm searching Biden cancer, and some older news clips are popping up, clips from 8, 10, 12, 15 months ago, and I'm watching any various reference Biden cancer. And then I'm watching the speech from yesterday. Now, we see it every day. So we know he's in bad shape. We know that. But if you compare, like, watching video of him from a year ago or 2 years ago compared to video today, because it's like when somebody like your desk mate, they lose weight. Well, over a period you kind of don't notice, but if you don't see them until the family reunion or something, you're like, oh my goodness, because you see it every day. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. This is real. This is not a talking point. It's not a reason to rail on Joe Biden. But go back, if you get a chance, watch videos from a year ago or 2 years ago of him. And he wasn't good then. My goodness.
Well, in his defense, though, you've seen that meme of, like, every president on the day that they got elected and then the day that their term ends. I mean, the presidency is hard on people. And I think the actual meme, I mean, even Obama, a younger, good-looking, like, vibrant person. I mean, he looked aged after that presidency. Yep. And I think the meme that I saw, started with Joe Biden and ended with, like, a zombie or something, right? Because he started older than everyone else. But, yeah, I mean, the presidency is really hard on people's physical health and I'm sure mental health too.
Hannah, what do you think about my theory? He's doing this intentionally because he has the mindset of an arrogant young guy that doesn't have the confidence to go and speak the truth to people that he's afraid he might hurt.
I mean, I would never say that he has the mindset of a young person, but I mean, I see why you think that. I really hope it's not true. I hope that that's not his MO.
Well, I really wish it weren't this bad, especially when it comes. I'm looking at the ag folks around here, from Callaway to Randolph County and every place in between, and ag and what's happening with gas prices and things like that, especially $80 to $100 billion. Hannah, I'm glad Hannah's a recent college grad. She's got a degree in agriculture, and the ag industry is hurting right now.
Yeah, I mean, really since the beginning of the pandemic, they haven't really caught a break yet. So, they're facing inflation just like everybody else. And the issues that the ag industry is facing is definitely not helping grocery prices in our inflated economy.
I'm wondering, too, big push again, the Trans Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, Secretary of Transportation on CNBC yesterday, and he's talking about, the need for electric cars and all this. And they're talking about solar energy. But if there's a climate crisis, as they're calling it now, if there's more sun, fewer clouds, less rain because of climate change, doesn't that actually help, like the solar farms that we see going up all along I-70? Have you been out through I-70 heading to St. Louis recently? Man, those solar farms are popping up left and right. And I know there's an incredibly vocal, passionate group of folks in the Fulton area that are not pleased about some of these things because of property rights, and they're putting these things up. But then if there's more sun, doesn't climate change help solar energy? No? Resounding no there. All right, just checking.
I'm not going to rely on you for climate science, Branden. Yeah. No offense. And I don't know enough about climate science. We need to call Tony Lupo, like some sort of scientist, atmospheric expert.
I got to share this story. Tony Lupo, atmospheric scientist, professor at Mizzou, he was on a couple of days ago, and that conversation didn't go the way I had in mind, in the way that I thought. I'm not always the best communicator. I thought I communicated in the presence of another person what we were going to talk about, and I had communicated via Facebook kind of this is what I was thinking, and that's not what happened. And I even have a witness. So I'm at the bank yesterday, Boone County Central Bank downtown. I got a bag full of change, and I'm dumping it, and this guy's behind me. He says, "Hey, are you Branden from 93.9 The Eagle?" My first response is always, "Are you a process server? Are you serving me with papers?" And I said, "Yeah." And he says, "My name's so-and-so." "Hey, man, nice to meet you." He says, "I heard you had Tony Lupo on the other morning, that atmospheric scientist, and you guys were talking about climate change." And I'm like, "Well, not really. We're talking, but yes."
So you got scared?
I did. I got scared. And I'm like, man, here it comes. And here's what this guy said to me. He says, "I just want to let you know," he says, "I thought it was really interesting because as soon as he came on, professor, Mizzou, liberal, climate change. He said, I already pegged this guy for everything in the book I don't like. He said, and then he was talking about the Pachyderm, the Columbia and Boone County Pachyderm Ice Cream Social. He says he's a Republican. I said, oh, yeah, he's very active, incredibly active in the Republican Party locally. And he says, I just thought that was really cool because here this guy had stereotyped and got it wrong. And I just wanted to share that because that was kind of a frightening experience in downtown Columbia yesterday.
There are conservatives on Mizzou's campus. You might have to look very hard for them, but they're there.
I love how that's your scary experience in downtown Columbia.
Not as scary as some other folks that had. Matter of fact, Eric Greitens, Senate candidate, I don't know what his experience was like yesterday. We need to get into this some more at 7:10. What did happen in that courthouse here in mid-Missouri yesterday? Eric Greitens' ex-wife Sheena in a courtroom, and it was a long visit in court. That's one of the things we're covering. 7:10 this morning. We'll do that for you on Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle. Meanwhile, 5 minutes from now, Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell. What are you looking at this morning?
Lights, camera, action. We're back in prime time with those J6 hearings tonight.
5 minutes from now, we'll do that. New job, hey, and after 90 days, you get all these benefits. That is not the case at Hitachi Energy because they value all their employees, even the new ones, which is why pay starts at $21 up to $25 an hour with a $3,000 phased signing bonus and benefits day one. Hitachi Energy not only inspires the world, you inspire them. So apply today in Jefferson City or online, hitachienergy.com/careers. Hitachi Energy really is inspiring the next workforce to power the world, and it all starts with their facility. Climate control for all seasons, which means it's always going to be a comfortable place to work, even when the high is forecast to be 104 degrees. Not every place around town can say that. So let Hitachi inspire the next step in your career. Hitachi Energy's pay starts $21 an hour. Benefits starting day one. Apply today in Jefferson City online. HitachiEnergy.com. Inspire your future. Inspire the next.
putting the fun in dysfunctional. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
She started it with Benny Thompson, who said there's only one request. Nancy Pelosi is off limits. We can't know what Nancy Pelosi's texts are. We can't know what she said to the Sergeant of Arms. We can't know what she said to the Capitol Police officer. Shouldn't the very first question be, why was the Capitol so ill-prepared that day?
That's Kevin McCarthy running defense ahead of the January 6th committee hearings, which start tonight. He is the Republican congressman from California, and that's the first thing we're encountering this morning with the Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell.
We're getting
Did I say
to the
Morning Bell?
What?
I think I said
yeah,
Morning
you did.
Bell.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. We do that at 8:25, and you got to catch that too. Business news, a little twist only Stephanie can give you. We're off to a great start. This is the daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
So tonight we will enjoy the 8th J6 hearing. How many of you seen Branden?
Oh my gosh.
Hours and hours and hours of hearings. And now we are back in primetime, though. If you recall, the first one was in primetime. They're doing this one in primetime. And you keep asking, how are they going to link this to Trump? And so tonight they are saying this is going to be the one. We're going to talk about what Trump was doing in the White House as everything was happening. And there were so many minutes that he didn't do anything, or I don't know what exactly was going to come out. But they said this. I think it's Kinzinger is saying it will open people's eyes in a big way.
So, and again, I keep saying, listen, I'm willing to admit if I'm wrong, but I thought the purpose of this was to show how Trump made those people on January the 6th go and do that stuff, all right? But it's been more about the election and stuff happening behind the scenes in the White House.
Right, and tonight, it sounds like it's going to be more about what Trump was doing after everything had already unfolded. So again, not about, instigating folks to actually do it, but I guess they're going to blame him for not getting out there and trying to stop them, I think.
Yeah, so Trump didn't go up to that cop and say, hey, go shoot Ashley Babbitt. Trump didn't do that. Trump didn't tell those guys to do that. So whatever they're doing here is incredibly misguided and a good reminder. Remember, the person running the January 6th hearings is a former, I think, ABC television executive. Hence this, we would call it a teaser in television. The teaser from Adam Kinzinger. Get ready, the big one's tonight. You can almost see the commercial on TV tonight, right? Adam Kinzinger pointing, going, get ready, the big ones tonight. We'll see you at 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 Central.
That's exactly right. Well, Congress is actually taking some action based on mainly all these Supreme Court decisions. They want to, yesterday they voted on gay marriage to try to enshrine that right in federal law. Now they're voting on the use of contraceptives, saying, oh my gosh, we have to enshrine the right to the use of contraceptives. I'm all about that. I think more people should probably be on contraceptives personally. So I'm all about that. So we should all have, if you want access to contraceptives, you should have it.
Hurry up, go buy condoms while you can. They might be, there's a run on condoms and bullets.
No, there's not.
And baby formula.
But all the stuff that's going through the House might not actually get anywhere in the Senate. The thing that might, there's a bipartisan group of senators making some changes to the Electoral Count Act, so we might actually see some action over there.
All right, thank you. That is what's worse, the fact that I said this is the Morning Bell, which we do at 8:25, which is worse, the fact that I said this is the Morning Bell when it was supposed to be the Daily DC Rundown, or is it worse that nobody caught it? Except I'm the one who caught it. All right, coming up 5 minutes from now, we're going to meet James Pound, GOP candidate running for Boone County Presiding Commissioner. He's here 5 minutes from now.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Tonight's hearing of the House Committee investigating the Capitol riot focuses on what former President Trump did and did not do that afternoon.
detail 187 minutes, the time span between the end of former President Trump's speech on January 6, 2021, and a recorded statement urging supporters to leave the Capitol. Committee investigators say during that time, President Trump refused to act or order additional resources to the Capitol.
Fox's Jared Halpern. 2 Texas men could get the death penalty for their role in a human smuggling operation. 53 migrants died in a hot truck last month.
Homero Zamorano Jr. and Christian Martinez are facing counts of transporting and conspiring to transport migrants illegally, resulting in death. The truck had been packed with people when Zamorano allegedly abandoned it.
Fox's Jill Nato. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31 in Robinson Saves You Time. Already warming up right now. It is 70 degrees here in Columbia. On our way today to a high approaching 100 degrees. We are not under a heat advisory. Probably not until Saturday. More on that in just a moment. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we're working on for you at this hour. No rain in sight for the next several days. Missouri's Governor Mike Parson will announce details a little bit later today about actions he'll take to aid Missouri farmers battling the worsening drought. 2 o'clock press conference today. The governor, the director of agriculture, Chris Chin, DNR Director Drew Bunton, and also Sarah Parker Pauley at Conservation will brief Capitol reporters. At 2 today, Columbia's received just 1.1 inches of rain in July. It's almost 2 inches below normal just for July. While temperatures will likely hit the 100-degree mark today, Mid-Missouri is not under a heat advisory. National Weather Service St. Louis meteorologist Matt Beitcher tells 93.9 The Eagle there are criteria that must be met for a heat advisory, either a heat index that day of 105 or 4 straight days of 100-degree or more heat indices. We're not in either one of those categories. Maybe Saturday, likely Sunday as well. We'll keep you posted on that. Former Boone County Clerk Taylor Burks, endorsed by the Kansas City Star for the West Central Missouri 4th Congressional District GOP primary. The newspaper says Burks can work with people from different backgrounds and beliefs. He was on Wake Up Columbia.
I, as the Boone County Clerk, had the ability, even being very conservative, to work with the Democrats in the government center. And that's really what this country needs.
He's one of 7 Republicans running in the August primary, and MU Health has opened its family medicine clinic, Mid-Missouri's Mexico, 633. Turning our attention to sports, and by the way, our news was brought to you by MidAmericaMortgage.us. Apply now for a loan on your dream home. Our time is 6:33. All-Star break continues for most teams today. It all depends on which teams they are. Certainly our 2 local teams in Missouri are off again today. They get an extra day, which helps them. The Cardinals and the Royals both off again today. At this time of the year, you're not going to get very many extra days off. Just doesn't happen. It's pretty much a grind all the way through the postseason. There'll be a game here or there, a day you have here or there off. That's about it. Cardinals and Royals play again tomorrow. Cincinnati is the opponent for the Cardinals. Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Adam Wainwright is on the mound. Royals hosting Tampa Bay at Kauffman Stadium. That game will be tomorrow evening at the K. And here's a name that many of you might remember, high school football fans, especially in mid-Missouri, Nathaniel Pete. Anybody else remember that name? Nathaniel Pete, Rockbridge High School, played at Stanford for a couple of years out there for Coach Hogan and just did a fabulous job. He's going to be a senior this year at Mizzou. First year, he has been named to the 2022 Doak Walker Award watch list. Nathaniel Pete, what an amazing athlete, and we're thrilled to have him here in Columbia. He is a real deal. Sports brought to you by Lacrosse Lumber, Grindstone, Columbia, 634. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com to post your job opening today. And our roads right now are pretty quiet in mid-Missouri. Want to let everybody know that if you're interested specifically in I-70 and Highway 63, there will be an open house today. And I'll preview this coming up at 7:03. But it's going to be from 4 to 6 at the Arc here in Columbia. open house. It's not something you need to stay at for 2 hours. You can stay 5 minutes as long as you want. No formal presentation. You can come and go as you please, but it's really the first chance for you to see maps and give your feedback in person to MoDOT. They will have all of their top team there that is working on this project. That'll be from 4 to 6 today at the Arc. Keep that in mind. That's the busiest interchange in Missouri, mid-Missouri, by far, for sure, right here in Columbia. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
CNN is first to report the federal investigation into Hunter Biden's business activities has reached a critical juncture. Sources say investigators are now weighing possible charges.
Did I catch that right, Steph? Did I hear?
CNN is first to report.
CNN? Mm-hmm. Did I hear that properly? CNN, first to report. There might be charges against Hunter Biden, and this is a big deal for us here because, remember, all the stuff, the Hunter Biden laptop, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. You know what's important is this Russian investigation. CNN first. So 2 big things happening there. Number one, CNN, the first to report it. It's funny when you got to go to Fox News and Fox News citing CNN on a story like this, especially, right? Because this is dessert for Fox. This is the chocolate cake with the cherry on top. We're going to have more on that coming up 7:10 this morning here on 93.9 The Eagle. That's Stephanie Bell. Good morning, Steph.
Good morning.
Mr. Hauswirth is here.
So good to see you, sir. Good morning.
That's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden. Rathert. Glad you could be here. We have 12 days until the primaries. It's interesting. Yesterday, we had our guest co-host, Randy Westphier, yesterday. How fun was that?
Oh, he was fantastic.
Between 7 and 9, he's in his 70s, substitute teacher, served our nation, and he won the opportunity to be a guest co-host on Wake Up Columbia because he made a donation during the Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon. It was in the drawing, and it was cool getting somebody else's perspective. And one of the questions I've been starting to ask of people is like, okay, if you don't want to tell me, you don't have to, but do you know who you are going to vote for in the 4th District congressional race? Taylor Burks, Rick Bratton, Kalina Bruce, some good names. And do you know who? You don't have to tell me who, but do you know who you are going to vote for in the GOP Senate primary?
Yeah, I mean, have you made up your mind? And for a lot of people, I think at the Senate race level, they have. And I think once we start getting down the ballot as far as races like the auditor, people are like, what? Missouri has an auditor? I mean, really, people are, I think, less informed on the auditor's race. And then also on the 4th, I think just because there are so many new names in that race and because there are so many candidates, we're hearing, when you ask that question, more and more people are undecided in the 4th. Than I would have even expected this late in the game.
Yeah. And then we bring it even closer to home, and you look at various local races throughout, mid-Missouri, whether you're talking Randolph County, Cole County, Callaway County, Boone County, for example. Presiding commissioner, and there is a primary in the GOP side. Connie Leopard, who is a contractor. She's been on the show before. The other candidate also happens to be a contractor. His name is James Pounds. James, we welcome you into the show. First thing we want to ask, because we only have a short amount of time here, what made you want to get into this race?
Money.
Okay.
Taxes.
All right. You want more money. You want a good payday. Is that what you're saying? Or because of because the county, you're saying, spends the money irresponsibly?
The reason why I got into it is because the county, and I don't think we have anybody on the county commission that gives a flip if we go and pay more in taxes or not. Actually, they want us to pay more in taxes.
Yeah.
And you can see it by their actions at every county commission meeting, every move they make. All they want to do is make sure our taxes go up. Well, unfortunately for that, when they go and make our taxes go up, they make our insurance go up. And, in today's age, my money is hard to come by, and I don't need to be spending it more on taxes.
All right. And what separates? So it's a GOP primary for Boone County Presiding Commissioner. What separates you from Connie Leopard, your opponent?
Well, first thing is I'm a guy, and she's a gal.
All right. You know what? Your answer is factual.
It is.
It is factual.
I stick facts.
Yep, that's a fact.
Okay, the reason why I think that we have a problem with it is we don't have anybody on the county commission that understands exactly what they're doing whenever they go and add more rules and regulations to buildings and development. And everybody goes and talks about the cost of living in Columbia and Boone County. And, one of my favorite catchphrases is, affordable housing. Everybody talks about affordable housing. Oh, we need more affordable housing. Well, we don't have anybody on the county commission right now that has any idea why we don't have affordable housing. And I can tell you why.
Hello?
Because we've added so much rules and regulations to both developing property and building property that it increases the cost. And with the increased cost comes higher prices in taxes and also in insurance. If it costs more to go and build a house, then it costs.
So they don't understand it. And I'll make this comparison. The city of Columbia, we've had city leaders say, hey, let's make the Wabash Bus Center a warming station for homeless people. So they put money towards that. Then the homeless people destroy the bathrooms. They put money for that. Now the city is spending money to put Johnny on the spots. They spend money for that. Then that causes problems. City spends more money on that. And now they're spending money and getting their asses kicked by businesses in the very same downtown area. They're trying to bring business into. They're upsetting business owners and spending more money. So that's the analogy. They don't understand affordable housing really on the front end, not all that affordable. James Pounds, he is a contractor running for Boone County Presiding Commissioner.
James, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you joining us on Wake Up Columbia. I want to ask you about an issue that got a lot of attention last fall at the Boone County Commission for about a month, and that was the mural that was in the Boone County courthouse, a mural that eventually was removed and taken to a secure location, I believe over at Columbia College. And the two people in town, former Boone County Judge Gary Oxenhandler and attorney Rusty Antell, testified at a meeting that mural had no place in a courtroom. They were offended by it. Did you support the commission's decision to remove the murals, and your thoughts on what happened back in October?
No, I didn't support that at all. And to be honest with you, it's amazing that Gary Oxenhandler was worried about it. He'd walked by it for how many years, and all of a sudden he was all offended by it. I had a hard time believing that. And no, I don't think they should have moved it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Mr. Pounds, is there anything else that you would like to add before we let you go?
Yes. Vote for James Pounds. Call August 2nd for Boone County Presiding Commissioner.
James Pounds, the election 12 days away. Thank you for. Oh, here's another question. This should, I'll ask Connie Leopard next time I see her. Two contractors in this race. Is that just a coincidence or any?
I think it's a coincidence. I think we both have kind of tracking along the same line. I mean. My big thing is affordable housing. Everybody wants to talk about affordable housing, but nobody does anything about it. And I would like to go and have an opportunity to do something about it.
All right, James Pounds, Boone County Presiding Commissioner, GOP candidate. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning. We do appreciate your time. Coming up tomorrow, it is a Feel Good Friday. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to be wearing red, and there's a reason that we wear red.
We wear red to remember everyone deployed.
And we don't say it to go, look at what we are doing. It's just to kind of maybe remind you that maybe you might want to wear red. And I won't be here tomorrow, so you guys still going to, it's Steph's the man tomorrow. Any idea what's coming up?
The man?
Sorry. Any idea what's coming up tomorrow?
I have some things in the works.
Are you still going to do Winners and Losers of the Week?
Yes.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I'm excited for that. I hope you'll join us tomorrow here on the Feel Good Friday. Coming up, Steph, we know Steph's not a big fan of dogs, but you now have 2 pets, that's progress. Because when you first came to play in the Wake Up Columbia sandbox, I don't think you had any pets.
I had 1. I had a fish. Now I have 3 pets.
So, fact checked.
And you've had 4. But now you have 3. You had one when you got here. But we know you're not a big fan of dogs. But this next story that happened here in Missouri, the lengths these people are going to try to find their... And it wasn't even a dog that was lost. The dog technically was stolen. Listen, I know a lot of businesses say, hey, we've been in business locally since 1812, that's cool. But with Hodges Roofing and Siding, the reason that they want you to know they've been doing this since 1976, think about this. How do you do something for so long? Think about your career or your passion. I don't know, maybe you're a bird watcher. I've been doing it for a long time. You're good at what you do because you have been doing it for a long time. You have passion for what you do, right? It's the same thing with Greg Hodges, Hodges Roofing and Siding. You have passion for what you do, and you like to say you're better at it than anybody else because of that passion. It's the same thing with Greg Hodges at Hodges Roofing and Siding. They've been doing it for a long time because he is good at it, just because he loves doing it, and he loves the reaction that he gets from people whenever they're doing, whether it's roofing and siding work, but the little things too, including the cleanup. It's pretty impressive stuff. Learn more about Hodges Roofing and Siding at HodgesRoofingandSiding.com.
This is the show people are talking about. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
That Hunter Biden was trading on his father's office to make $50,000 a month from the Ukrainians. In October, he admitted it.
The fact that you were the son of the vice president. Yeah, no. What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
Son of Joe Biden, and boy, it's tough. I put the crack in the pipe and smoke it up. I like every day I'm tweaking, laptop leaking, pictures of me on a cocaine bender. Quick Pro Joe got me working in the Ukraine.
Best part still coming.
The only thing I know about gas, you can huff it. Now I got $50K a month in my pocket. Board of directors, charisma, I'm smashing. My dead brother's widow, impregnate a stripper. But nothing is better than crack cocaine when you're rich and famous in the Ukraine. Cocaine in the Ukraine. Cocaine in the Ukraine. Cocaine in the Ukraine.
Wow. CNN first, and pretty proud of it. First to report that federal investigators are mulling charges against Hunter Biden. And here's the thing I hear from a lot of people. Who cares about Hunter? And I don't care about the pictures and don't care about his drug use and all that stuff. But what he is potentially, according to CNN, false statements to the FBI, committing federal tax violations. These are allegations. CNN the first to report that. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. And then intentionally using the president's name. Don't you? Our joke used to be Brad Tronago, who was part of the Wake Up Columbia family for a long time. I think was always, don't you know who I am? I'm Branden Rathert. I'm the guy that works with Brad Tronago. That was my thing. And this kid's running around snorting coke, hiring hookers, and saying, don't you know who I am? I'm the president's son. Welcome into the show. Glad you could be here. It's Hannah, the producer. Stephanie Bell is here. My name is Branden Rathert. Something we can do for you. 874-9390. 874-9390. Oh, my goodness. Already reaction to the cocaine in the Ukraine. See this?
Brett says, yes, that was so awesome with some trophies. That really was very well done. I mean, whoever wrote that, like, props. Who did that? Do we know?
I don't know. I was going to think somebody sent it to us via text, and I can't remember who. It may have been a guy by the name of Stewart. And thank goodness there were no foul words in it, because I have this habit sometimes, and it drives Hannah crazy.
Are you serious? You did not screen that song before you played it for the world? Dude.
I got the basics. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
You're like, fine. Cocaine in the Ukraine. It's probably totally safe. Totally rational.
I am so disappointed.
Because I do this thing a lot, and it makes Hannah mad.
Well, like, especially with listener text messages, you won't screen them, so you don't read them in your head before you're reading them out loud on air.
Yeah.
And sometimes somebody's trying to tell you, like, a really dirty joke, or they said some words that we shouldn't say on the radio. Yeah. And you're over there, oh, well, so-and-so texted, and they said, oh, never mind.
So
2 seconds of forethought into that would have eliminated it.
But thank goodness it didn't happen. So whoever sent that, because we are getting texts, all right, where is that? Where is that? What's the story? I don't know.
We're Googling.
All right, we'll Google. Maybe we'll play it again a little bit later here on 93.9 The Eagle. How far? I am a dog lover. I don't have any dogs, but used to raise and breed Siberian Huskies and had wolf hybrids, would help take care of wolf hybrids. And I know I love my dogs. Volunteered at animal shelters in Boise, Idaho, and Pensacola, Florida. Love dogs. So I always love stories like this. Here in Missouri, this guy, him and a bud of his, they're on a cross-country trip across America. And they stop in St. Louis. And I don't know if they Google this stuff beforehand, but they stay a Saturday night in St. Louis, get up Sunday, and think, you know what? Let's go to this cafe and eat. Well, they're at 14th and Washington Street. Now, somebody who grew up in St. Louis, I know you, and maybe it's changed. A lot of things have actually changed in parts of St. Louis, which is exciting to me. They're hanging out. They've got a couple of dogs. It's too hot to bring the dogs out onto the sidewalk cafe. Well, so they leave the dogs in the car. But the good news is they left the car running so they could leave the AC on for the dogs.
Very kind.
The bad news is
somebody took off with their dogs and their car.
Oh.
So this is almost like an Inception level story. I think there's several different things going on here. Listen, you don't do that. You don't leave your car running with the AC on, especially in some parts of town. But they did that. But here was the thing. They're saying, but we were in view of the car. We could see it. I'm like, okay. They're like, the car was right there. We can see it. We're good. And I'm like, oh, okay. But then
a bus pulls up right at the worst possible time.
Holy, for real. So you see in the movies, like a bus pulls up and it blocks their view within 20 seconds. So somebody had to have been watching this. You talk about how smart thieves and criminals are. Somebody had to have been watching this. Somebody had to know the bus schedule or something. A bus pulls up by the car to where it blocks their view for 20 seconds. Somebody got into that car, which had the keys in it, because they left it running.
Is this the Doman of the day coming back?
Man, it should be.
Can you imagine how confused the dog was?
Who the hell are you, man, and where are we going? Here's some of this guy's story on the NBC affiliate television station in St. Louis.
We didn't want to put the dogs out on the pavement, so we actually parked the car right here in vision from where we were sitting with the AC on.
So I just wanted to make sure we played that so you didn't think Steph and I were making this up. They really did that. Then a bus pulled up. Couldn't see it. It's like a scene you would see in the movie. So make sure when you're telling your friends, I heard this story, this dude in St. Louis, and I heard I was listening to Stephanie and Hannah and Branden on 93.9 The Eagle. That's worth sharing, right? If you go do happy hour tonight, that's a story worth sharing.
Well, also, how stupid are the criminals? Because didn't they say the dog's chipped? So if they've got the stolen car with the stolen dog, is that going to lead the cops right to the stolen car?
And it's chipped, does it have to be scanned, or can you track it? Is it like an Apple
I don't know.
iTag or AirTag? I don't know. It's interesting. Eric Greitens was in town yesterday. He was here for a while. I don't think he was campaigning. What was he doing here? We're going to cover that for you coming up at 7:10 on 93.9 The Eagle. Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. If you go to their website, they have some videos on there, and I think if you go to the website, Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, pro-pumping.com, they have one of these cameras. I'm kind of despite the fact I know nothing about tech, I like tech. They have this little camera, and I've seen it in action, and it's like a camera attached to the end of like a roto-rooter thing, man. I don't know what it is, but it goes down into the sewers. And here's the beauty of it. You can talk about how cool it is and everything, but if you ever utilize the services of Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, whether it's for lagoon maintenance, septic tank maintenance, or you have a sewer line issue, here's the benefit for you. That camera, it gets to the root of the problem. Whereas other folks, they got to go, well, we're going to troubleshoot. We're going to see if it's this. We're going to see if it's that. Meanwhile, another dude in the background with the calculator just knocking you for every 15 minutes of billable time. But that doesn't happen with Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting. Check out that high-tech camera, pro-pumping.com.
the January 6th committee's closing argument. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. What may be the last hearing into the Capitol riot is tonight.
The Select Committee will detail 187 minutes, the time span between the end of former President Trump's speech on January 6th, 2021, and a recorded statement urging supporters to leave the Capitol. Committee investigators say during that time, President Trump refused to act or order additional resources to the Capitol.
Fox's Jared Halpern. Steve Bannon is calling the hearings a show trial, and the contempt of Congress charges against him for not cooperating with the probe politically motivated. The ex-Trump White House advisor's defense takes over at Bannon's trial today. Prosecutors called two witnesses, a committee deputy staff director and an FBI agent. He stopped short of declaring climate change a national emergency, but President Biden says he might, allowing him to take executive actions.
It is literally, not figuratively, a clear and present danger. The health of our citizens and our communities is literally at stake.
Republicans want him focused more on oil and gas production, not renewable energy, blaming Biden policies for record gas prices, though they're down 37 straight days now, 57 cents less than the all-time high. The president surprised quite a few people on his trip to Massachusetts, saying this about oil and gas emissions.
That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
But he doesn't. The White House later clarified that the president was referring to non-melanoma skin cancer he had removed in the past. Today, the president goes to Pennsylvania to propose new funding for communities to fight crime and hire cops. Two Texas men have been indicted in the deaths of 53 migrants found in the back of a sweltering hot 18-wheel truck in San Antonio last month.
Facing counts of transporting and conspiring to transport migrants illegally, resulting in death. Both are in federal custody without bond pending trial. The Attorney General's office could authorize prosecutors to seek death penalties.
Fox's Jill Nato. America's listening to Fox News.
It's one of the top 5K events in America today, held on the last Sunday in September. The Tunnel to Towers 5K Run and Walk New York City event. That signature event has inspired about 80 other runs, walks, and climbs across our nation. Proceeds from events, including dozens of golf outings and barbecues, support the Foundation's programs. Register for an event in your area, volunteer to start one, and join Tunnel to Towers on its mission to do good and never forget. Donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
Get money back with every gallon of gas you buy with the free Upside app. Just download the free Upside app, buy gas like normal, and earn serious cash back, no strings attached. From there, it's easy to transfer your cash to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card. Upside users have earned back over $200 million. Download the free Upside app and use code GAS95 for an extra 25 cents a gallon on your first tank. That's code GAS95 for an extra 25 cents a gallon on your first tank. Cash back is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:03 and Robinson saves you time. It is sunny right now. We continue to warm up here in mid-Missouri, although we're not under a heat advisory. We're already at 71 degrees here in Columbia. On our way today to a high potentially of 100 degrees. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth, and here's some of the stories we are working on for you on this hot Thursday. And we'll get to the heat and the drought here in a moment. But first, we begin with former Missouri governor and GOP Senate candidate Eric Greitens. He was here in Columbia most of yesterday at the Boone County Courthouse testifying, along with his ex-wife Sheena Chestnut Greitens in his child custody case. Hers as well at the Boone County Courthouse in Columbia. They both appeared in closed courtroom. Depositions apparently taken. It is the first time that the former governor appeared in person in Columbia in this child custody case. Our news partners, ABC 17's Hannah Falcon, reporting that Mr. Greitens was seen coming out of the Boone County Courthouse at about 7 o'clock last night. Neither spoke to reporters as they were leaving the courthouse. All of the rides at the Boone County Fair have passed inspection from the State Fire Marshal's office.
Today, I got my hands on the 2022 inspection documents, and documents say the 15 rides from Sunshine Amusement are now good to go. Inspectors noted a couple issues with the fence on the cliffhanger. Staff fixed the ring issues noted that day. Staff also fixed an issue with sharp edges of the steps sticking out of the fun slide.
That is our news partner, ABC 17's Layla Mitchell, reporting there from the Boone County Fair on Oakland Gravel Road. The fair resumes today at 5. The carnival will open at that time. They will have a number of cooling stations on hand because of the heat of those cooling stations available at the fair throughout every day, including Saturday, the final day of the fair. The drought continues to worsen here in mid-Missouri across the state. There is no rain in sight. Columbia has received just 1.14 inches of rain this month. That's almost 2 inches below normal. National Weather Service St. Louis meteorologist Alex Elmore tells 93.9 The Eagle that Columbia had 2.6 inches of rain in June, 1.6 inches below normal. Governor Parson has called a press conference for today at 2 in Jefferson City. He'll outline actions aimed at helping Missouri farmers and ranchers. He'll be joined by the Director of Agriculture, Chris Chin, Drew Bunton at DNR. Sarah Parker-Pauley will join the governor as well. She's the director of the Missouri Department of Conservation. Today's an opportunity for you to see maps, provide feedback on millions of dollars in potential improvements to Columbia's I-70-63 interchange. The State Department of Transportation holds an open house 4 to 6 today at Columbia's ARC. That's on West Ash. The State Highway Commission has approved a $140 million reconfiguration of the interchange. You can come and go at any time during the open house today. There is no formal presentation. A former Boone County clerk who is seeking the GOP nomination in West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District is blaming Washington spending for rising inflation. Taylor Burks notes the Consumer Price Index shows inflation at 9.1% in June, a 40-year high.
Our situation with inflation, the devaluation of the dollar, is because of the massive federal spending we've seen not just in the last 3 years, but the last 20, 30 years.
Egg prices right now up 33%. Mr. Burks spoke on 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia. He has been endorsed in the GOP primary by the Kansas City Star. And speaking of business, Missouri's governor and the First Lady are going to be heading to Germany and the Netherlands coming up. They leave on Saturday. Missouri exporting more than $675 million in exports to Germany in the last year alone. He's going to be meeting with a number of business leaders, including the executives from Bayer. Bayer, of course, based in Germany, and they are a multinational pharmaceutical and life sciences company. Bayer actually bought Monsanto. For those of you who are from St. Louis, Monsanto is what people still call it. Technically, it is Bayer. He'll meet with those executives. He'll also meet with BASF officials in Germany as well. And Director Chin will be accompanying the governor for this trip, our Director of Agriculture. Our news is brought to you this hour by The Candy Factory. The Candy Factory is in downtown Columbia. Learn more, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:08. In sports, Cardinals and the Royals were off yesterday. All-Star break off again today. There are a handful of teams that are playing today, just a few really. Overall, the rest of the Major League Baseball gets back to action after the All-Star break coming up tomorrow. St. Louis is at Cincinnati tomorrow evening. Adam Wainwright on the mound, Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. Royals hosting Tampa Bay at Kauffman Stadium. And Nathaniel Pete, the young man from Rockbridge High School in Columbia. And boy, he is a great athlete. All-purpose player, returns punts. He pretty much can do it all. He is on a preseason watch list. It's impressive. He'll only get 1 year at Mizzou for Eli, but it's hopefully going to be a big year for him. He is the real deal, and we'll tell you what watch list he's on coming up at 7:31. Sports brought to you by Atterbury Auction. Visit AtterburySells.com. Our news time, 7:08. John, thank you. Right now, clear skies. It is warm, 71. Traffic with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people at 7:09 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Coming up tonight in Columbia, Stadium Boulevard work will continue between Providence and College. The MoDOT crews, and again, that's a state-operated road, so it's the MoDOT team doing that work. They'll be out there roughly from 7 o'clock tonight through 6 tomorrow morning. Lots of equipment, lots of paving equipment, and a number of temporary lights are going to have to set up as well. So they're going to have a lot of lane closures throughout the night. If you can avoid that area, please do. If you have to go through there, you can expect delays throughout the evening to 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine, a piece of crack
Who
cocaine.
you trying to mess with? Ese? Don't you know who my daddy is?
That Hunter Biden was trading on his father's office to make 50 grand a month from the Ukrainians. In October, he admitted it.
The fact that you were the son of the of course.
Yeah, no.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
Son of Joe Biden, and boy, it's tough. I put the crack in the pipe and smoke it up. I like every day I'm tweaking, laptop leaking, pictures of me on a cocaine bender. Quick Pro Joe got me working in the Ukraine gas company directing. The only thing I know about gas, you can have it. Now I got 50K a month in my pocket. Board of directors, charisma, I'm smashing. My dead brother's widow, impregnate a stripper. But nothing is better than crack cocaine when you're rich and famous in the Ukraine. Cocaine in the Ukraine. Cocaine in Ukraine. Cocaine in the Ukraine.
It was really good.
Cocaine straight to the brain.
And then it got better.
Cocaine in the Ukraine.
We're getting a lot of texts about this. Curtis, Brett, Scott, we appreciate that you're digging this. I think, and we don't know this. I'm trying to think. Somebody emailed, and I've asked via text, like, hey, are you the one who sent us this video? But I think, again, Steph has been able to uncover the source of that song.
He calls himself Bob's Lessons on the socials. So if you Google Bob's Lessons or at Bob's Lessons, I believe he was the maker of that particular song, which is hilarious.
And we're not playing it just for fun, because, a lot of times, what's our excuse? Why do we do stuff here on the show sometimes? Well, how come you're going to do that? Because it's fun.
Because we want to.
Because we want to. That's why. I remember I used to have when I was doing country music.
What?
Wow.
That will never not be funny. Same with the Top 40 radio.
When I was doing mornings on a country music station in Southern Illinois, and we had the shows, The Waking Crew with Wes and Branden, and we had an intern, Forrest the intern, because the hot movie back in the day was Forrest Gump, and so we had our intern's name was Forrest, And we would send him out every day to do stunts. And every day after we got done doing, our morning show was on until 10, and when we got done, we would meet for a couple of hours, and then at noon we had to go and meet with our program director and explain to her everything that we were going to be doing on the show. And her thing was always, and I'm usually the quiet one and sit there and wait and let them all hash it out. Well, the host of the show, yeah.
You're the quiet one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The host of the show, he was the opposite of me. Any excuse for him to dip his toes in that argument, he was full bore ahead. So every time we say, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this bit, and we're going to talk to Jeff Foxworthy, and we're going to send Forrest the intern. And she would rub her chin almost. Go, yeah, why? Why are you going to do that? Mm-hmm. Who cares? And so then the host, he would go, well, we're going to do it because of this, this, and that, and give her all these explanations. One morning, we wanted to send Forrest the intern. We got a hold of a little pygmy goat, and we were going to dress it up in women's clothing and put lipstick on this goat and have Forrest the intern take it around to hotels to see if he could get a room. And, of course, he'd be mic'd up, and we'd catch all.
Gosh.
Wow. Well, that was the reaction of our program director that you heard from Stephanie Bell. But here's the thing. And she in her mind, she was going, oh, gosh. She rubs her chin and says, yeah, and why are you doing that? And for the first time ever, after I don't know how long I'd been a co-host on this show, I finally said, dang it, just because it's funny. That's why. And she said, okay. And she never asked that question again.
Wow.
So that's why we do stuff on the show. So we just do it because it's fun. But there is actually a reason we highlighted that song this morning, this Cocaine in the Ukraine, which features news clips of Biden. This from CNN.
CNN is first to report the federal investigation into Hunter Biden's business activities has reached a critical juncture. Sources say investigators are now weighing possible charges.
So this is charges that this is based on allegations that he lied to the FBI. The fancy phrasing I think they use, made false statements. Yeah, try that one at home. No, baby, I didn't lie to you. I just made some false statements.
Right.
That works in a courtroom, but not at home.
It's not going to work in the home.
And committed federal tax violations. Now, why this matters, okay, that's the president's son. It doesn't matter, but it does matter because of Ukraine and tie-ins to Burisma and the president of the United States. That's why all of this stuff matters. Welcome into the show. Thank goodness we've got a good attorney in the house. Stephanie Bell here with Ellinger and Associates in Jeff City. And we have the best news guy in local media, and Brian Hauswirth.
Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you for your kind words.
We have the best producer, I guess.
Wow. Thanks.
Well, I hate to use the word.
That was so genuine.
Well,
we have the best producer, I guess.
Well, here's the thing.
Wow.
I hate to just, label you with producer because you're more obviously than a producer. But when Hannah first started hanging out here, she wasn't even old. I think about when she started hanging out here, she was old enough to enlist in the military. And I think that was she was old enough to drive and old enough to enlist in the military. Maybe she wasn't. Actually, I don't think you were old enough to enlist in the military when you first started here.
Started working at Zimmer?
Yeah.
No, I was 18.
Okay. So she was old enough to do the military and drive. Now she can get drunk if she wants to, legally. We just started calling her Hannah the producer. That wasn't like our intent. Now the name sticks. So that's Hannah. My name is Branden Rathert. I'm just a regular Joe Schmo. My nickname from Hannah the producer?
JJ, Joe Jr.
Joe Jr., because I have a lot of things in common with Joe Biden. I forget stuff and I get lost in my sentences. Welcome to the show. Eric Greitens, former governor, former Democrat in this current U.S. Senate race. He was in town, yes. He was in Columbia for like 7 hours yesterday. And this has to do with, and I hate talking about this because it is a family court matter, but you can't avoid it. Now, I went by the courthouse twice yesterday. One time was about 1:30 and another time was, I guess, about 2:45-ish, trying to see if there are any news outlets there. I didn't see any national news outlets here because they're following this.
Correct. I'm not aware of any national, although it's being reported on nationally. Everything was behind closed doors. It was a closed-door deposition. In my sense is, and I do not know this, nobody knows, but I feel very confident to say this. I no doubt in my mind the judge in this case has put them both under a gag order.
Yeah. There's
no doubt about it. And the media kept trying to get them both to comment. I get that. But, they're just not going to do that. I mean, a gag order would make sense. There are children involved. I did notice there was security around former Governor Greitens, so no question about that. There were bailiffs, that escorted him out to the sidewalk, if you will, and then he walked across the street. There's also a story in Politico, Brandon and Stephanie, that Governor Ricketts has donated $250,000 to Show Me Values.
Governor Ricketts?
Nebraska, the governor of Nebraska, who Greitens and him were very tight when they were. I am almost positive Ricketts was in Jeff City, and I know for a fact Greitens was up there in Nebraska for a steak fry. But they campaigned for each other, but then Ricketts, became disgusted with him during the controversy.
So none of this is going to come out public, very likely. That's right now.
I don't know that you're talking about the stuff at the courthouse.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it would right away. I mean, and unless the judge makes a decision in an open courtroom, and right now everything is
family court.
It's family court, and it's closed.
Yeah, it depends on what happened yesterday, which we obviously don't know, but how a lot of this got out initially was there was a motion with an affidavit attached. So it was actually a court filing. So to the extent something else came out yesterday, one of the parties, I assume, could file something that's, that references or cites some of the evidence. And I think that's some of the questions is, what additional, because I think when they were talking about we need to have this hearing, it was Helen Wade, Sheena Greitens' attorney, who said, no, we need to put we need to actually go on record because there is additional evidence outside what we already have put in the case. And so to the extent some of that came out and somebody filed, like a filing generally would be public, but depending on what the judge did yesterday, somebody could file that under seal. So
and this is and this part of the I should be more clear here than what I was. This is not specifically who gets the kids. This hearing is based on a lot of things, but mostly because Sheena Greitens wants to move it down to Texas. The divorce was filed in Boone County, but she wants, so that's the crux.
Where is the case going to occur?
Yeah.
And that's why I think the judge is kind of speeding things up, because I think everyone else is, well, let's slow this down. And the judge is really like, we're just deciding where this case is going to land. Let's go ahead and make that decision now and get it in the right court.
I agree. And Stephanie, you're an attorney, and again, Branden, this is a little confusing because it's unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. We normally don't. No one covers family court. No one. This is something I've never seen in about 30 years. But I will say this, Stephanie. Ultimately, it's going to be up to the judge. The judge, if the judge doesn't want those court documents to be released, the judge has the power if she's worried about what the impact on children. However, if the judge wants to release those or make those public information, they could. I would think right now those would be a closed record.
Sheena Greitens says, and we know about the allegations and all that stuff. I don't think it's necessary to go back into that barrel. Rudy Keller from Missouri Independent. Rudy he tells us that it's uncertain whether any of this stuff is going to be made public or transcript is ever going to be released. Sheena Greitens, regarding the allegations, says she has photos and documents to back up some of her allegations. She told that to Rudy Keller at the Missouri Independent a couple of months ago. Meanwhile, Eric Schmidt has a new campaign ad, and we keep laughing. We're going to have to do this at 7:35. Eric Schmidt, our Attorney General and Senate candidate, he has. We keep talking about these. What is it? All the guys have in their commercials. All these candidates.
Guns.
The bigger, the better.
Blow torches.
Yeah. He's gone. So he's got a baseball ad, which I kind of thought that was cool. Vicky Hartzler, or a PAC in support of Hartzler. They have used that against him now. Now there's a new ad in support of Schmidt. It's interesting. You want to hear that? We'll do that. Coming up 7:35 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Coming up 7:25-ish. What's hot with Hannah? What do you have for us today?
I spared you guys for like a week or two of wedding-related stories, but I got to go back.
And you deserve to do that. So we're going to cover that coming up in What's Hot with Hannah, 7:25-ish on A lot of folks in Missouri, they looked at what Atterbury was doing and go, oh, man, we got to do this too. But they're not doing it. I want to tell you about one they are doing now. Features a 2009 Harley-Davidson Road King police motorcycle in some really nice, beautiful, and high-quality furniture pieces. That's just in this one option. There's pottery, glassware, collectibles. And if nothing else, maybe you're not looking for fancy furniture. Maybe you're not looking for a police motorcycle, a Harley-Davidson Road King police motorcycle. You might think, I'm not interested in that. Go to AtterburySells.com anyway. See what they have. They have some really cool things that you can bid on, whether it's real estate, whether it's stuff, homes, whatever. Check it out. Atterbury Auction and Realty Company, AtterburySells.com.
You're listening to Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert on 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
7:28.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
I had promised when I got engaged that not every What's Hot with Hannah would be wedding related.
But
I took a break for like a week and now I'm back.
Well, you deserve it, man.
Was that a long enough break?
Yeah.
This has got to do with Hollywood weddings, but I'm actually seeing this trend here in mid-Missouri too. Since the pandemic, secret weddings are starting to become like more popular.
I love it. Automatically. So like you just go and get married and
yeah, you announce after the fact like, hey, by the way, I know of at least 2 coworkers who have done this here at Zimmer.
Sign me up.
I am, full disclosure, not doing that.
I want the world to know I'm getting married.
But I think it would be really fun to just kind of like sneak away for a weekend and come back to work on a Monday and be like, oh yeah, we got married.
Yep.
Well, Ben and Jennifer, they didn't tell anybody. They went to
Right.
Vegas and then they announced later. I do agree. Like for your first wedding, you got to go big, I think. But if I was getting remarried or married, Jennifer Lopez is what, 50? If I was doing that, yeah, I'd totally fly to Vegas for a weekend.
I'd go to Judge Crane and say, hey, dude, you on your lunch break and you put a ring on it with me and this gal over here. That's what, really, because number one, I've already done it twice. But it reminds me of the church sign I saw one time. It was, one of those reader boards in front of a church, and it said, hey, thanks for inviting me to the wedding. Now, how about inviting me to the marriage? Signed, God.
One of our coworkers here at Zimmer invited everybody over for a cookout at their house and had everybody bring a side dish. And when everybody showed up to their house, they're like, you're at our wedding, surprise.
I love it.
Was that the one I misunderstood the invitation to because it said bring a side dish?
Oh,
not a side. Coming up, Connie Leopard.
Oh my gosh.
She is a GOP candidate for Boone County presiding
Roll weather.
commissioner. She's here at 7:35.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. President Biden says he has a duty to act against climate change.
It is literally, not figuratively, a clear and present danger.
The president in Massachusetts there announcing executive actions, including more funding for communities to prepare for weather-related hazards and advancing the development of wind power in the Gulf of Mexico. Louisiana House Republican Steve Scalise.
If you look around the Middle East, I mean, again, he's begging Saudi Arabia to produce oil. All of those countries emit more carbon to make the same thing.
He was on Fox and Friends first. A soldier's killed, 9 hurt in a lightning strike at Fort Gordon in Georgia.
Soldiers were in a training area around midday when lightning struck. The identity of the one soldier killed won't be released until his family's notified. No details yet on the other soldiers who were hurt.
Fox's Jill Nato. The oldest ever male giant panda in captivity, Ann, has died at age 35 at a theme park in Hong Kong. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31. We continue to warm up here in mid-Missouri. 72 is our current temperature. On our way today to a high of close to 100 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we're working on for you in this 7 o'clock hour. The governor is assuring Missouri's farmers and ranchers who are battling the drought that help is on its way.
Governor Mike Parson has called a 2 o'clock press conference at the State House in Jefferson City, where he will be joined by State Department of Agriculture Director Chris Chin, State Department of Natural Resources Director Drew Bunton. Columbia received just 1.14 inches of rain in July, which is 1.7 inches below normal. Columbia was 1.6 inches below normal in June. Don Luzader, Zimmer News Network.
Don, thank you. Meantime, former Missouri governor and GOP Senate candidate Eric Greitens was here in Columbia yesterday along with his ex-wife Sheena Chestnut Greitens, both testifying in the child custody case at the Boone County Courthouse in Columbia. Closed courtroom. It's the first time the former governor appeared in person in Columbia for his case, neither speaking to reporters after the hearing yesterday. Former Boone County Clerk Taylor Burks has been endorsed by the Kansas City Star in West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District GOP primary. Newspaper publishing its endorsement this week. They say Mr. Burks can work with people from different backgrounds and beliefs. He's one of 7 Republicans running in the primary. The winner of the GOP primary faces Lamar Democrat Jack Truman in November. And MU Healthcare says the opening of its family medicine clinic in Mexico highlights its commitment to expand access to healthcare in rural mid-Missouri communities like Mexico and Booneville. News is brought to you by WillettDentalAssociates.com. 7:33. Turning our attention now to sports, we're going to start with college football. And hard to believe that just a little over a month away at Faurot Field in Columbia, it's going to be a Thursday night. Mizzou will open up its season. Certainly we're hoping for some cooler weather by then. But there's a young man by the name of Nathaniel Peat, P-E-A-T. If you are a high school football fan, you know who I'm talking about. He played out at Stanford, and he actually led Stanford, was their leading rusher last year, a couple of touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, and we're talking about not a very good offensive line. He also led the Pac-12, 663 kickoff return yards. He averages 25 yards a return. He'll play 1 year at Mizzou. He is a senior. Rockbridge High School, he has been named to the 2022 Doak Walker Award watch list. Tremendous athlete, great feet, and he can go up and get the ball when he comes out of that backfield as well. What a big, big pickup that is for Coach Drinkwitz. Nathaniel Peat, Doak Walker Award watch list. Baseball, most teams still off today. All-Star break still continues for the Cardinals and the Royals. They're off today. They return to action tomorrow. St. Louis, Cincinnati tomorrow night. Wainwright on the mound, Great American Ballpark, 5:40 the first pitch here on the Eagle. Royals in Tampa Bay at the K tomorrow evening. It'll be a hot one at Kaufman. Sports brought to you by WillettDentalAssociates.com. 7:34, 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Traffic with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Coming up today, MoDOT Open House, 4 to 6. Columbia's ARC. It's your opportunity to give your feedback on millions of dollars in potential improvements to the I-70-63 interchange. And you'll see MAPS have an opportunity to speak your mind. It's about a $140 million project. No formal presentation. You can come and go as you please, but that will be a big event today. They're expecting a pretty good crowd for that. So if you're going, you can go early, you can go anytime, no formal presentation. Next update, 8:03, breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
House representatives out this week kind of taking a victory lap, saying prices are down at the pump. That is surely the case, but I just wonder how concerned you should be about taking a victory lap yet. Most Wall Street analysts are anticipating that we will see higher energy prices. In fact, oil prices back above $100 a barrel at this point, anticipating higher prices all the way through the end of the year and beyond. If prices go back up, do you then have to take blame for the higher prices if you take a victory lap now?
So that's, and the answer from Trans Secretary Pete Buttigieg, it doesn't matter. That's CNBC. They're asking because Stephanie and I had talked about this. You know, whose fault is it because of high gas prices? Putin's fault. And then, well, now not only is it Putin's, but now we're going to blame an entire political party.
Yep, it's Republicans'
It's
fault.
Republicans' fault. And we said now, and you already knew this. You're pretty smart, and I'm stereotyping that about you because you're listening to 93.9 The Eagle. So I'm going to make some stereotypes about you. And then when gas prices start going down a little bit, are you going to start taking credit? And they are. And CNBC had Pete Buttigieg on, who is the transportation secretary, to say, well, so and we've already seen some Dems out there. Hey, are you seeing what we're doing? And she calls BS on it. And he gave a typical political answer. Somebody called us out earlier, and I don't know who said what, but I apologize. Sometimes I use language that's, what's the best word to sketchy, maybe? Is that a good word to describe it? Anyhow, apparently I said something earlier, and somebody said, very nicely, they said, hey, I've got kids in the car listening. And thank you for that, because that is a good reminder. We're talking all the time. We've got new people listening. We've got regretful Biden voters, newer and younger listeners. We're getting like younger and younger people. I just didn't know how young. So I apologize. It's never intentional is what happens. Two things happen. Number one, I just get very passionate when I talk about, especially when it's affecting you here in mid-Missouri, and I see how we get treated by some of these local governments. So I get very passionate and I forget my place. It's not intentional. The other thing that happens is I'm just not thinking. Yeah, don't laugh, Brian. That's our goal here. If we get the news director of Zimmer to laugh, Brian Hauswirth, then we've done our job. Stephanie Bell is here. That's Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert, and I apologize if I said those words in front of your kids. 12 days away from the primaries. I'm hearing more and more people, at the very least, Senate race. They're like, yep, I've got it down to 2. Because we're asking people, have you made a decision? We're not necessarily asking who it is you are voting for. Have you made a decision? And we get a lot of folks saying yes, or I'm getting a lot, I've got it narrowed down to 2. And that's where I really am. I'm at 2. And it's a tough one between the 2. And then we've been asking about the 4th congressional district race. Incredibly solid field with Kalina Bruce. She's the rancher. The TV guy, Mark Alford from KC. You've got Bill Irwin.
Yeah, Senator Rick Bratton.
Taylor Burks is truly, we've been knowing him before he was ever in office, before the governor of the state of Missouri, Governor Mike Park, who appointed him to office. He's always been just a solid guy. You know what I mean?
And he's been here a lot. Kalina Bruce, of course, too. I mean, it's a very interesting primary. Yeah. It really is.
So we've been asking people too, have you made a decision in that race? And then we start getting a little bit more localer, because the more localer, the more importanter. Boone County Presiding Commission, seat currently held by Dan Atwell. He's not seeking re-election. We spoke with James Pounds, local contractor, earlier this morning. You'll be able to hear that on the Wake Up Columbia podcast. Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time on our website, 939theeagle.com. Connie Leopard has been on the show before. She, too, is a contractor. Connie, let's revisit your 1 or 2 biggest things that you want to do in a nutshell if you're elected Boone County Presiding Commissioner.
Hey, Branden. Thanks for having me on this morning. My first big thing that I want to really focus on is the ARPA funds that we have in Boone County coffers right now, and I'm looking at infrastructure that needs to be reviewed and looked at. Broadband expansion across the county. As we all know, during the pandemic, when schools were closed, there were kiddos that did not have the ability to log on to classes successfully, which is not a good thing for Boone County. So that's a big issue. Public safety is another one, really big issue for me. 911 center still needs folks. I've been talking with those folks regularly, as well as Dwayne Carey needing some extra folks at the Boone County Jail. And I know this doesn't seem like a big issue to some folks, but the bedrock of our community is infrastructure and public safety. It's kind of the bedrock of what makes us a good community in moving forward.
I'm on board with public safety and infrastructure.
We talked to James Pound earlier today, too, and both of you have been in small business. How do you think your experience as a business owner, changes your approach to maybe someone else who's been in elected office as you look at the presiding commissioner role?
Well, I'd say one thing for sure: when you're a business owner, you're allocating your own resources and utilizing them. It's not someone else's money you're playing with. You're playing with your own. And as I spoke to a reporter the other day, I said, when you're every contract you enter into, you quote unquote you are betting the farm. It's your resources and what you've built up that's at risk. So I think bringing that experience of budgeting and understanding budgeting and having executive leadership experience that I've had working on national boards would be a very good thing for me to experience and training I could bring to the commission that would be helpful.
Connie Leopard, GOP candidate, primary 12 days away, Boone County presiding commissioner. She's hanging out with us this morning on 93.9 The Eagle.
Branden, thank you. Connie, we appreciate you joining us. I interviewed in his office the late Dan Knight back on March the 1st, the longtime Boone County prosecutor. He told me on the record that he had requested 3 additional prosecutors from Boone County commissioners and didn't receive any new ones. He was frustrated that day. He said that he wishes at the time he could have paid more money to the hardworking people in his office. And he also said this county is one of the few counties with more public defenders than prosecutors. Had you been on the Boone County Commission, how would you have voted on Mr. Knight's request, for or against, and why?
Well, I will tell you that if you speak with law enforcement folks around the county, and not just from the sheriff's department, but smaller communities as well, there is a backlog in cases that are not being adjudicated, sometimes even timely enough for some of the charges that are brought against them. So those are the things that absolutely the prosecutor needs the resources he needs or she needs to run the department in the way that they know needs to happen for the citizens of Boone County. That is a part of public safety, is to get criminals that are known criminals off the street. And I'm very passionate about seeing that happen. Shots fired last week happened right across the street from where my kids and my grandkids live. It's not acceptable.
Where was it? Which one? Well, there's been so many. I mean, which one was that one? The one by your grandkids?
On Doris Drive.
Yeah, and somebody got actually shot. I think the woman got shot.
Yeah. There were 911 center delays. Matter of fact, we have some audio here we're going to highlight just a second from now from ABC 17, because this woman had an interesting story to tell. And again, if you don't have the manpower, there's nobody to it's not like we're blaming anybody. They just don't. And Missouri, I think Governor Parson announcing yesterday, Missouri unemployment at like a record low or something. Listen, I'm not an economic financial advisor, but I do know this. There's a lot of people that just aren't working, because you talk to all of these small local businesses, Howard County, any county here in mid-Missouri, and they're like, we cannot find people to work, which tells me that there's just nobody. That unemployment number can be deceiving. Connie Leopard, Boone County Presiding Commissioner, GOP candidate. Anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
I would just like to ask everyone, check out my website, ConnieForBooneCounty.com. Please check me out and make sure that you vote on August 2nd. We need everyone out voting. There's a lot of interest in the ticket, as you've been highlighting for several weeks now, and other candidates for the other larger races. So we need everybody out to vote, so please vote.
All right, Connie, thank you for your time here. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning on 93.9 The Eagle. So those shots fired, I think this happened over the weekend, talking about 911 center shortages. Brian Hauswirth and I were just out there. We toured with Boone County current presiding commissioner Dan Atwill. If you ever get the chance, like if you're with a civic organization or whatever, United Way or maybe the Rotary Club, whatever it is, and you get an opportunity to go and tour that place, do it. It is remarkable the things that happen and the staff they have at I think it's Boone County Joint Communications 911 Center. I don't know the details. It's not my thing. Stop laughing.
No, but what they have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yes.
My husband would say I am not I am the serious person, and if I'm a hard worker, but in like real true cases of emergency, I have a hard time keeping my cool, especially like in medical emergencies. So to hear the kinds of things that they hear through the phone and to be able to process and help people in a way that, you know, someone on the other end of the phone is hysterical, actually provides them aid and comfort is, I couldn't do it. I don't know. I think about it, and yeah, it's amazing what they do from the phone, right? And giving people, I mean, you've seen those games where people are blindfolded, they try to give people instructions. I mean, giving people advice through the phone when you can't see where they are, when you can't see what they're doing, when you can't see the situation is an incredible skill.
And probably, you know, we always like to say, in probably their worst moments, and you've got to remain calm. Where are you? What's the issue? Okay. Because what's the first thing? What do we hear in probably 9 out of 10 911 calls? Please hurry, get here now.
Yeah,
Yes,
and most
the
people have no idea where they are, and myself included. Half the time, if you called me and said, and I was on the side of the road, and if you asked me where I was, I would say, yeah, I've got no clue.
Where are you? Where are you? Well,
I'm
here.
on 63.
I'm right here.
Yeah, somewhere between Jeff City and Columbia.
I'm between that one exit and this exit.
They do remarkable work. If you ever get a chance, check out the Boone County Joint Operations Communications Center. And it's not just the equipment and what they do there. It's the people. Our friends at ABC 17 were talking to this woman she had her door blown out by these shots fired in Columbia. The audio is kind of difficult. She sounds kind of like an elderly lady, but she sounds incredibly sweet. She's saying, hey, I called 911, and it was taking a while.
I immediately called 911. Couldn't get through. It took me 5 minutes or 8 minutes to get through to 911. They were real busy because there's a shooting going on down here.
I don't know that woman, but I love that she said it took me 5 minutes, 8 minutes to get through to 911. I said, I don't know, but you got to get here because there's a shooting going on down here. I could sit on the front porch and drink iced tea with that woman all day long. She sounds like somebody that we'd want to know. Coming up a few minutes from now, I'm going to highlight some justice for a longtime servant in the state of Missouri. He was a police chief. He was murdered a couple of years ago in St. Louis.
Political opinion? We got your back. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
I want to thank everybody here and hasta la vista, baby. Thank you.
Boris Johnson with his best Arnold Schwarzenegger a la Terminator impersonation. Yesterday, British Parliament, he said, yeah, I'll leave. Only after a bunch of people told him, you better. He's done September the 5th, but he's using that yesterday. Hasta la vista, baby. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Excited about tomorrow. It's a feel-good Friday on the show. We're wearing red to remember everyone deployed. And we do that. We don't say, hey, look at what we're doing. We're wearing red. We just say that maybe as a reminder that maybe you, too, will wear red. It's always cool. What else is shaking on a feel-good Friday?
Well, I'm really excited. We will be joined by the Women's Business Center. You recently sent me an article. I guess Missouri is like the 6th best place for women-owned businesses. And right here in Columbia, we have the Missouri Women's Business Center. And they basically, if you're trying to start a business or you want to grow your business, there's all sorts of resources that they provide to help people kind of get their businesses off the ground. And I know, we talk so much here on the show about small businesses and how they really are the heart of our community and do so much for Columbia. That I think this organization is one people need to know about, because I think a lot of people have ideas out there. They just don't really know how to get started or how to, and so connecting with other people who've done it and with experts who've, done it themselves, I think is really helpful.
I love that, because you're drawing from somebody's experience. It's not somebody saying, well, here's some advice I have for you. No, I don't want your advice. Tell me your experience. I love that. Can't wait for a feel-good Friday. I don't know if you ever read Tony Messenger's stuff, Post-Dispatch. He was actually on the show several years ago. He won a Pulitzer. He did some really good work. He did a series of articles regarding like this perpetual prison, people that get to jail, can't pay the bail, and they get stuck there, and then fees would add up. And he did a really good series of stories, and he was on the show. Tony Messenger was here right after he won a Pulitzer. He's done another story. Cori Bush arrest. She was arrested the other day. Mm-hmm. Remember the fake handcuff thing?
I sure do. The memes yesterday about that were incredible.
Hilarious. So they got arrested. They were protesting. They were blocking streets because that's how those people protest. When I say those people, by the way, I mean progressives. That's what they do. So they get arrested. And I don't even know if they were actually charged as much as they were led away. But you can see in the pictures, they have their hands behind their back. Hey, Never miss a good photo op, right? And they weren't in cuffs. Anyhow, so Tony Messenger writes, Cori Bush arrest continues a long tradition of St. Louis activism. And it's a glowing article. And I want to say, well, you know what? It was activism back in June in 2020 when a longtime St. Louis police captain, David Dorn, was shot and killed. It was during activism. Remember the activism? George Floyd thing a couple years ago, that activism led to St. Louis. David Dorn, longtime police captain, he was shot and killed trying to protect his community. That guy yesterday sentenced, or actually not sentenced, he was convicted of murder. And what I find is interesting, maybe it's just me, but a lot of these news outlets in St. Louis, they're not giving the history. They're saying he was killed outside of a pawn shop. He was killed during looting. As a matter of fact, some key evidence was video. Key evidence of the trial was video of that night. People were looting, tearing up the city because a dude in Minneapolis got shot and killed.
So you're advocating for more context? Usually you're the one leaving out the context, Branden.
I'm a hypocrite sometimes. And incidentally, it was Lee's Pawn Shop is what it was called. If you look up, look up Lee's Pawn Shop. Google that whenever you get a second. Lee's Pawn Shop in St. Louis. Just look at the boulevard. Look at what street Lee's Pawn Shop is on. Hey, what's up? I'm Branden Rathert for GAP's Automotive Repair Shop in Columbia and in Boonville. A lot of reasons I love GAP's, and I think I've shared that with you. But here's what I want you to see. I want you to see what we've been talking about. If you go to the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, there's some video on there, and we are doing, not me, folks at GAP's, I'm just watching, pretending like I know what's going on, but I don't. I don't know anything about cars. That's why I go to GAP's Automotive Repair Shop. But somebody had taken their car and said, hey, need an AC service. So wherever they took it, they just put Freon in it, said, there you go. It still did not work. Why? Because that other place, they didn't do a service. So they took it to Gap's Automotive Repair Shop where they do AC service. They found the problem. It had nothing to do with the Freon. There was a crack or something in the hose, whatever, and they fixed it. But I really want you to see the video. It's of Gap's Automotive Repair Shop, who you find in Boonville and in Columbia.
He wants to help communities fight crime. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The president will make a push for that in Pennsylvania, leaving for Wilkes-Barre later this hour. Fox's Evan Brown.
The Biden administration wants Congress to approve spending $37 billion to hire 100,000 more police officers and clear backlogs in court systems. Dubbed the Safer America Plan, the White House insists President Biden has already supported extra efforts to increase capabilities of law enforcement, using the term fund the police.
Now, Republicans have decried progressive attempts to defund police for rising crime in many cities. Following George Floyd's much protested death in Minneapolis in 2020, one of the police officers involved and fired is back in court today for sentencing, but not for murder like ex-cop Derek Chauvin, who kneeled on Floyd's neck.
Former rookie police officer Thomas Lane was convicted in February, along with former officers J. Alexander King and Tu Tao, on federal charges of violating George Floyd's civil rights. Though unlike King and Tao, Lane took a plea deal on the state manslaughter charges and is expected to get 3 years in prison, for which he'll serve 2.
That's Fox's Jeff Manasso. The Democrat-led House committee investigating last year's Capitol riot holds another public hearing tonight, focused this time on then-President Trump's conduct after his supporters stormed in. This is the second day that the president, Biden, is hit the road. Yesterday, he went to Massachusetts pushing renewable energy.
Climate change is literally an existential threat to our nation and to the world.
He hinted he could soon declare it a national emergency, which would allow him to take executive action. Republicans think high gas prices are the emergency. Senator John Thune tells Fox
that's where the American people think the problem is.
Though gas is down 37 straight days and 57 cents from the record high. There was a slight rise in unemployment last week. First-time jobless claims up to 251,000. America's listening to Fox News.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation's 9/11 Never Forget mobile exhibit is a tribute to all who lost their lives on 9/11 or from 9/11 related illnesses. It's a high-tech tractor trailer that transforms into a museum to educate people of all ages about America's darkest day. The mobile exhibit has traveled across the country and welcomed over 600,000 people. Visit it in a city near you. Do good and never forget. Donate $11 a month at t2t.org.
Get money back with every gallon of gas you buy with the free Upside app. Just download the free Upside app, buy gas like normal, and earn serious cash back, no strings attached. From there, it's easy to transfer your cash to your bank account, PayPal, or even an e-gift card. Upside users have earned back over $200 million. Download the free Upside app and use code GAS95 for an extra 25 cents a gallon on your first tank. That's code GAS95 for an extra 25 cents a gallon on your first tank. Cash back is not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:03 and Robinson saves you time. It is a hot one here in mid-Missouri already. 75 degrees is our current temperature. On our way today to a high of approaching 100 degrees. Despite that, we're not under a heat advisory, and we won't be today, and probably not tomorrow. We'll explain that here in just a moment. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Hauswirth. Here are some of the stories we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. It's a busy morning. The child custody case involving former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens has gone behind closed doors at the Boone County Courthouse in Columbia.
Former Governor Eric Greitens was in a Boone County courtroom with his ex-wife Sheena Greitens on Wednesday in their child custody case, but they're not talking to the media. Was the first time that Eric Greitens made statements under oath about the abuse charges made by his ex-wife, and the first time Sheena Greitens was cross-examined. There's no word if the testimony or recordings of the hearing will be made public. John Marsh, Zimmer News Network.
All right, John, thank you. Meantime, the drought continues to worsen here in mid-Missouri and across the state. There is no rain in sight for the next several days, possibly on Monday, and it doesn't look like a great opportunity, and we may get down maybe 5-6 degrees. We are paying close attention to that forecast. That's our next chance for rain. Columbia has received just 1.14 inches of rain this month. Now, that is almost 2 inches below normal. We were 1.6 inches below normal for the month of June because we received 2.61 inches. Again, about 2 inches below normal. National Weather Service meteorologist from St. Louis, Alex Elmore, says that, again, we were at 1.14 inches, about 2 inches below normal for July. The governor's called a press conference for 2 o'clock today in Jefferson City. He is going to outline actions aimed at helping Missouri farmers and ranchers with this drought. He'll be joined by Missouri's Director of Agriculture, Chris Chin. Also on hand today, Mr. Bunton. Drew Bunton is the Director of the Department of Natural Resources. Now to this heat advisory. Hannah had a question that many of you have asked as well, listeners, about why Columbia and mid-Missouri are not under a heat advisory. And according to Mr. Elmore from the National Weather Service, even though we'll be at 100 degrees today, they have specific criteria that they have to meet. One or the other. One, you have to be at 105 degrees for a heat index. We will be close, but we will not be there today, according to the NWS. The other criteria that you could meet would be 4 straight days of a heat index of around 100 degrees. So no heat advisory today. Probably not tomorrow. Looks like Saturday and Sunday we will. We'll keep you posted on that. It will still be very hot and be safe in the heat. All the rides at the Boone County Fair passing inspection from the State Fire Marshal's office.
Today, I got my hands on the 2022 inspection documents. And documents say the 15 rides from Sunshine Amusement are now good to go. Inspectors noted a couple issues with the fence on the cliffhanger. Staff fixed the ring issues noted that day. Staff also fixed an issue with sharp edges of the steps sticking out of the fun slide.
ABC 17's Layla Mitchell reporting there from the Boone County Fair in Columbia. And as Layla pointed out as well in her stand-up last night, there are also cooling stations across the fairgrounds. Carnival will be very hot. Heat of the day is when that opens today at 5 o'clock, so be prepared for that. They do have cooling stations across the fairgrounds, and they will take place and have those cooling stations throughout the rest of the fair through Saturday evening. And today is your opportunity to see maps and provide feedback on millions of dollars in potential improvements to Columbia's I-70-63 interchange. MoDOT plans an open house today 4 to 6 at the Arc in Columbia West Ash. Highway commissioners approving a $140 million reconfiguration of the interchange. You can come and go at any time during the open house today. There is no formal presentation. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you in this 8 o'clock hour by First State Community Bank. They're on Discovery Parkway. You keep banking, they'll keep building. First State Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. In sports, Major League Baseball, a lot of teams still on the break right now for the All-Star break, including the Cardinals and the Royals. There are a handful of teams playing today. Most of those are in the American League, and they do not involve the Royals. Royals and Cardinals are off again today. Not going to see very many days off for the rest of the season, so the players will have to enjoy this as they can. The Cardinals and Royals back in action tomorrow. Royals hosting Tampa Bay at Kauffman Stadium tomorrow evening. Heat could be a factor if you're heading to Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. St. Louis is at Cincinnati tomorrow evening. Adam Wainwright is on the mound. That game will be at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. 5:40 is the first pitch our time tomorrow night, so that will cut into Dr. Tobler's show tomorrow evening as we get into Cardinal baseball pregame right after the 5 o'clock news tomorrow here on 93.9 The Eagle. And Nathaniel Pete, Mizzou player who was a star at Rockbridge in Columbia, has been named to the Doak Walker Award watch list. Congratulations to Mr. Pete, who played college football for several years at Stanford. He's transferred here to play for Eli Drinkwitz. He'll be here for 1 year. He is a senior. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:08. Right now we have bright sunshine. John, thank you, and great work on television today, as always, with Megan. 75. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. Not hearing any major issues on the roads this morning. There is a MoDOT open house, again, 4 to 6 today at the Arc here in Columbia. It's your first chance to see maps of the proposed project at 70 and 63. You can get out and do that anytime today between 4 and 6. No formal presentation, so you don't have to be there right at 4. You can come at 5:57, theoretically, get the same information as someone who shows up at 4 o'clock. That's today at the Arc on West Ash. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Automatic 5 years in jail for any person caught with a rock of crack cocaine, a piece of crack cocaine.
Who you trying to mess with, Esse? Don't you know who my daddy is?
That Hunter Biden was trading on his father's office to make $50,000 a month from the Ukrainians. In October, he admitted it.
The fact that you were the son of the Vice President.
Yeah, no.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the Vice President of the United States.
Son of Joe Biden, and boy, it's tough. I put the crack in the pipe and smoke it up. I like every day I'm tweaking, laptop leaking, pictures of me on a cocaine bender. Quick Pro Joe got me working in the Ukraine gas company directing. The only thing I know about gas, you can huff it. Now I got $50,000 a month in my pocket. Board of directors, charisma, I'm smashing. My dead brother's widow, impregnate a stripper. But nothing is better than crack cocaine when you're rich and famous in the Ukraine. Cocaine in the Ukraine. Cocaine in Ukraine.
So we played that earlier this morning, and we got a bunch of texts. Branden, where'd you guys get that from? Stephanie, where'd that come from? And then they were asking our news director, Brian Hauswirth. Brian said, listen, you're going to have to talk to Steph and Branden about that.
Absolutely, yes. I do not know where that
and listener Stuart sent that to me, but I don't know where it came from.
It's Bob's Lessons, and Brett also let us know his name's Sideshow Bob on YouTube, apparently.
Sideshow Bob, apparently. And then we had another listener saying, apparently there was a parody song, and this is from listener Tim, when Bob Holden was running for governor.
Yes.
There was a song, Can't Keep Holding On.
Can't Keep Holding On, BLUNT. I mean, I've got that on a CD at home. The guy ran, actually, the guy that wrote that was down in southwest Missouri. His name escapes me, but he ran for office and dropped by the CD He called him a one-term Bob, but it was, the thing about that is at the time, Bob Holden wasn't too upset about it, but it was not nasty. It just basically said Holden was raising taxes. Basically,
is it
that's
radio
all.
safe? Because I have it pulled up here.
The one with Holden.
It's we can't.
Yeah,
that guy doesn't look like he'd say a cuss word.
We can't keep Holden on that. I can assure you, it's radio friendly. He's playing a guitar. There's nothing offensive about it. Again, I've listened to it because I believe I got the governor's response to that at the time. But no, there's no curse words.
If you were watching on our YouTube channel at 93.9 The Eagle, you would see Hannah doing like this, giving me like the evil eye, like, Branden, don't play it.
I'm giving you a chance to correct your actions before you act on them.
Thank you.
What name does it show up there for the guy's name?
It doesn't give the guy's name. It just says we can't keep
Holden on.
Jeff Parnell?
Yep, that's him.
Really?
It's the right guy. He ran for office, so yes, that is legitimate.
We might have to pull that up and play it a little bit later, but right now, Randy Tobler. He hosts the Randy Tobler Show weekday afternoons, 4 o'clock. How you doing, bud? What's we're doing excellent. What's going on with you, man? Yeah. Hey, it's the flu. I mean, we have Fauci. We have audio Fauci saying it's basically the flu. Well, I'm sorry. I know it's been going around. It was interesting because Steph and I brought this up a couple of weeks ago because we're like, hey, we're like you, tired of talking about it, don't care, blah, 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 blah. But I started to mention once in a while, hey, just so you know, we're starting to see an increase in Boone County. And then I think last week, at least 2 weeks ago, at least in my circle, it blew up. I had a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, man. She's just this amazing person. And I didn't know what she was, but she sent me a stick. It said positive or whatever. And without thinking, I swear to God, I thought it had nothing to do with COVID. And I'm like, oh, well, congratulations. And yeah, completely missed it. Well, yeah. Hey, and I wanted to tell you this because I know you're probably more schooled than any of us hanging out here in the studio this morning on these kinds of things. But this friend I have, she also she's battled cancer. She currently has cancer, and her doctor gave her like one of those meds that some people freak out about. But he said, "Hey, listen, in your situation, this is what gave her the info, and she took it." And I thought it was interesting because he kind of prefaced it by saying, listen, I know that you've heard this and you've heard that. This is an option, especially considering the health issues that you have right now. Did anybody else do this? So, and the girls here, they get on me every time I say it. They say, be careful. 2 years ago, I mentioned to Brian Hansen, who hangs out on your show, and Brian Hansen, the star of the Gary Nolan Show, weekdays at 9 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle. We talked about starting a pool. Like, everybody put in $250, and then the last one that doesn't get the COVID wins the pot.
I had forgotten about this.
Yes.
Are you the last one standing?
I would have won if everybody would have put in $250, man. I would have like $250. No, I would have won. I guess it's the superior Rathert gene structure. I don't know what it is.
Give me a break.
And Hannah and Stephanie do good about warning me. They're like, don't tempt fate, man. Don't play with it. But I'll tell you something. Because some of my nearest and dearest friends, they get a little cranky at me. I'm flying out to Idaho tomorrow to go see the grandkids for a while. I'm going to be gone for a while. I'll be back Monday, August the 1st. And before I fly, listen, I live life, okay? Whatever you want. If your business wants me to wear a mask, I'll take my business somewhere else. Not a big deal. But like if I go to places and I've canceled a couple of political fundraisers I was involved in. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be around a whole bunch of people right now. I'm just kind of staying out. And Hannah can attest to this. We were in a staff meeting last week, I think. And out of the blue, out of nowhere, we're just sitting there. Nobody's close to me, not doing anything. What did I do?
You turned around and washed your hands in the break room.
Like I hadn't touched it. I just got up to wash my hands. But I do that before I fly out because I am not going to risk the opportunity to go see my grandkids. We're going to spend a lot of time together. So being especially cautious. What are you going to do on your show this afternoon, man? Or maybe not. You don't sound so good, but you. All right. Yeah. That's coming up this afternoon, starting at 4. Randy Tobler Show. Really, really good show when you're done for the day. You check out what's been happening in Missouri and in town with Randy Tobler. Let me ask you this before we let you go. We've kind of gotten in the habit where we've been asking people, have you made a decision in the GOP Senate primary? 12 days away until the primary elections. And we're not even asking people, who is it that you are voting for? We're just asking, have you made a decision? And a common answer I'm getting is I've got it down to 2. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of where I am. Let me ask you personally, and you don't have to say who it is that you're voting for. Do you know yet who you will vote for on August the 2nd in the GOP Senate primary? How about some other races? Do you at least know where you're going? Because I'm looking at the 4th. Well, and by the way, you've got the 3rd congressional district, seat currently held by Blaine Luetkemeyer. You've got the 4th that Vicky is vacating because she's running for Senate. I think a really, really solid field in that 4th with Kalina Bruce and Taylor Burks and Rick Bratton and all that. You look at some of these other races. Have you made up your mind? All right, Randy Tobler, we'll let you go, man. And I will look forward to catching you this afternoon on the Randy Tobler Show starting at 4, okay? You want me to change your diaper for you, Randy? I'd love you so much, and I wouldn't do that. We'll see you, man. All right, be good. Coming up, Morning Bell, 8:20. We'll do that about 8:25. Business news, a little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. I'm looking forward to this today.
There's some breaking news in Ashland, Missouri about a new business coming to town.
Opinions on social issues. We throw those around too. Wake Up Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning. 8:26, time for the Morning Bell. Business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
So I have a special announcement about Ashland, but this story made me think about it. And I actually found out about the Ashland news on Tuesday at the Board of Aldermen meeting. But Fox Business is reporting that Chipotle actually closed a store in Maine because they were thinking about unionizing. And so they just said, so there was talks of unionizing, and Chipotle just said, you know what, we'll just walk away.
See ya.
And so I thought that was really interesting. Now, of course, Chipotle is saying, well, the store is closing because we have labor shortages and other things. And the people who are trying to unionize are like, the timing is awfully suspicious. But you see in other communities where stores are dealing with violence or looting or whatever, they're closing. And I think a lot of people, we have to understand, these efforts by the left, what they're doing to our small businesses, and that these businesses have a choice. They can close up shop and go somewhere else, or just, do online or DoorDash or whatever else. And so whether it's violence or unions or pressure from, not having the support of your local government. I mean, look at our downtown businesses in Columbia where they feel like they're not getting the support they need to be able to, keep their customers safe. They have a choice. They can pick up and move. They can shutter. It's sad, but, good. I think good, even if it's still under dispute why Chipotle is closing, but I think, it's a good thing that we let our businesses make choices for themselves. And regardless of whether, they're just like, it's too hard to staff and we're giving up, or in the face of unionization, they just say, you know what, it's not worth it. Good on them for, I think, making a choice.
So is what you're saying is Chipotle is coming to Ashland?
No.
Oh, okay.
They're not. But if you've got a hankering for Mexican food, and I was like, we haven't talked about this yet. Chipotle
she pulled the Rathert there, Hannah.
I read that story and I'm like, oh my gosh, we haven't really gotten there. But Ashland, it came up in the meeting that Ashland's getting a Taco Bell. Which I'm really excited about. So
I am also excited, and I don't even live in Ashland.
So the Board of Aldermen meeting.
Yeah, they announced that over there by the new break time, I believe, is where the new Taco Bell will go in. And they've also broken ground on the new scooters, which was announced a while ago. And so the new coffee shop. So anyway, so very exciting, 2 new businesses in Ashland. And as we talked about, if you're, for Taco Bell, I mean, a lot of people that drive on the highway stop at the McDonald's. So for a small town that doesn't have any, restaurants, I think very exciting. And especially for Ashland, I mean, as the town grows, it needs more money for infrastructure. And so finding ways, I mean, not like we're trying to increase taxes on people, but growing the businesses there will actually give the city the money it needs to support the, everything else that's going on in town. So,
Steph, do you think they'll get a Sonic next? I know how important that is to you.
I know. Centralia has a Sonic. And while we are larger than you, I don't know why we don't have a Sonic. Now, I have heard there have been other permits pulled, and that I think that was also announced. Other permits pulled, and there are talks in the works. I am not privy to any of those conversations, so don't ask me for any secrets. But I think there are lots of conversations happening, and I hope Sonic's on the short list. I like my local places, but for a busy mom with family, sometimes fast food's a necessity, and I like options.
I was in Ashland last week. I was watching Salter I went and watched him do some landscaping, and then I watched him do some concrete work, and then ate at a restaurant there. I keep wanting to call it the Wagon. It's not the Wagon Wheel. What the heck is it called?
The Trail Boss. It's delicious.
Yeah.
So good.
It was really good. And so the thing is with Hannah and Stephanie, Hannah's from Centralia, and Centralia for the longest time had been the second largest city in Boone County, behind Columbia. And there's been this battle between Centralia, where Hannah is from, and Ashland, where Stephanie is an older woman. We might relook at those totals like 5 minutes from now.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The House committee investigating the Capitol riot in a hearing this evening is expected to accuse former President Trump of dereliction of duty for happily watching the riot as it progressed last January 6th.
Aides for the panel have not confirmed who will testify in person, citing security and intimidation concerns. Tonight's primetime hearing is the final public session scheduled. Committee members have not ruled out additional testimony or hearings.
Fox's Jared Halpern. A new poll finds a small majority of Americans are in favor of federal abortion rights.
The Associated Press Nork Center for Public Affairs research poll finds that 53% of U.S. adults disapprove of the decision by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. 55% say they feel at least somewhat angry or sad about the decision, while a third of those polled say they feel somewhat proud, relieved, or excited about it.
Fox's Tanya J. Power. 16% say they're neutral about the Supreme Court's abortion decision. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:31 and Robinson saves you time. 78 is our current temperature right now. Looks like a little haze outside our studios here. Partly sunny, we'll call it, but definitely some haze in the air, and we're expecting a high of around 100 today. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you on this very hot Thursday morning. The governor is assuring Missouri farmers and ranchers battling the drought that help is coming.
Governor Mike Parson has called a 2 o'clock press conference at the State House in Jefferson City, where he will be joined by State Department of Agriculture Director Chris Chin, State Department of Natural Resources Director Drew Bunton. Columbia received just 1.14 inches of rain in July, which is 1.7 inches below normal. Columbia was 1.6 inches below normal in June. Don Luzader, Zimmer News Network.
Don, thank you. Former Boone County Clerk Taylor Burks right now has been endorsed by the Kansas City Star in the GOP primary for West Central Missouri's 4th Congressional District race. Newspaper says that Mr. Burks can work with people from different backgrounds and beliefs. Burks appeared on Wake Up Columbia.
I, as the Boone County Clerk, had the ability, even being very conservative, to work with the Democrats in the government center. And that's really what this country needs.
He's one of 7 Republicans running in the August primary. Winner in the primary faces Lamar Democrat Jack Truman in November. MU Health says the opening of its family medicine clinic in Mexico highlights its commitment to expand access to health care in rural mid-Missouri communities like Booneville, Mexico, and Fayette. The urgent care opens up this summer. And Governor Parson and the First Lady will board a plane on Saturday, a bipartisan trip. They're going to be heading to Germany and the Netherlands. It's a trade mission. BASF and Bayer among executives they'll meet with. 8:33. And our news was brought to you by Hemi Construction here in Columbia. We always appreciate them sponsoring our news. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Witt Print Shop. 8:33 here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Cardinal baseball and the Royals are they're off again today. They were off last night, so no recaps. I won't have any recaps for you coming up tomorrow, but we'll have a preview. I can let you know right now that most teams are off today still for the All-Star break. I looked at the list, a handful of games going on. Seems like most of them are in the American League. St. Louis is at Cincinnati tomorrow evening. Adam Wainwright, Uncle Charlie on the mound. I just call him Father Time. That's really what he is. He is fantastic. Royals host Tampa Bay at Kauffman Stadium tomorrow evening as well. And congratulations to Nathaniel Pete, Rockbridge High School product. Nathaniel played his college ball for several years at Stanford out in the Pac-12, but he has transferred to Mizzou for his senior year. He's on the Doak Walker Award watch list. He led the Pac-12 663 kickoff return yards last year. He averaged 25 yards a return. Very athletic, and let me tell you, as a running back, he can go up and get the ball. What an athlete that's going to be playing for Eli this year. Congratulations to Nate. Our time, 8:34. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. Midmohires.com to post your job opening today here in mid-Missouri. Now, today is going to be an open house. Columbia's I-70-63 interchange at the Arc on West Ash, 4 to 6 today. You can come and go as you please. There will be no formal presentation. Your first chance, though, to see all the maps that MoDOT has for that huge intersection out on I-70 and Highway 63. They're not going to take testimony, nothing like that. It's really more of your opportunity to see maps and give your input on what you want to see happen there. They'll let you know what's planned to take place there as well. Be prepared for that. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station 93.9 The Eagle. The show Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
You can't keep up with them, man. You got to go on with your life. It's a tricky mother. I mean, Fauci, he's like, first he was like, you get your 2 vaccines and you dance in the street, you walk about with your life. Recently he said, okay, we missed it by a little bit, all right? You can get 2 vaccines, 2 boosters, you still get COVID. 3 boosters, 2 more vaccines, you're getting COVID. You get another vaccine, you're still getting COVID. Buys you 7 minutes of immunity. That's all you got. So now we're coming up for the daily COVID shot. Every day you go in like a B vitamin, you get your shot. By the time you get to your car, you've lost your immunity. But that's a hell of a 39 seconds.
Dana Carvey last night. He was hosting one of those comedy shows on, I don't know, he's filling in for Kimmel.
It's Kimmel.
All right, he's been filling in for Jimmy Kimmel.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a pretty good Fauci impersonation.
And the thing about Dana Carvey, for people, I did not see the show. I definitely saw the promo. What I appreciate about him is he's from the old school. And when he used to impersonate President Bush, it was he was not
gonna do it.
Oh gosh, he was so fabulous.
Not gonna do it.
And when Bush lost the election, he actually had him at the White House as a kind of a going away deal. But he is not. I don't know what Dana's politics are. I have no idea. I mean, I really enjoyed him on there, and he has a good time. That's pretty good. I recognize the voice. I just wasn't sure if that was him.
Not gonna do it. He did. And I remember Dana Carvey telling the story. He got his start Saturday Night Live. He's in the Wayne's World movies, done some other things. But I remember when George H. Bush got elected, they were looking around. Lorne Michaels, he created Saturday Night Live, and Saturday Night Live is, 40 years old now, if not
it's older than that, yeah. Because it was
50
definitely
years?
75, I believe, is when it
almost
started.
50 years old. And looking around who's going to impersonate George H. Bush, because he was so unimpressionable.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like some people, like Brian, we had a politician after Brian Hauswirth, who's the news director for the entire Zimmer radio group. When Brian first started here, almost a year it's been now.
August, right?
Every time a lawmaker from Jefferson City would come on and hear that Brian Hauswirth was here on 93.9 The Eagle, they would say, oh, my gosh, Brian, it's so good to hear from you. I think it was our treasurer, Scott Fitzpatrick. Towards the end of the interview, Brian had done his piece, and he got up, and he walked out.
I had to go do an interview, yeah.
And he said, in Scott Fitzpatrick, he didn't know that Hauswirth had left the room, and he said, by the way, Brian, it's good to hear you there on 93.9 The Eagle, because there's such a, when it comes to politics and smart people, it's an institution in mid-Missouri. And so I just impersonated Brian Hauswirth because you are very impressionable.
Sure. And I enjoyed it, by the way, and he got a kick out of it, too.
Because some people are very impressionable and some aren't. But Dana Carvey, they said, do H. Bush, and he did it.
I mean, I'm personally hoping for a Sarah Palin comeback, only because that also means a Tina Fey comeback.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing about Dana Carvey is he also had a character called Church Lady.
Yeah. Can you do that imitation for us?
But there were, I mean, at the time, Brandon, you and I were in high school, there were all these televangelists that were kind of getting in trouble. Jim and Tammy Faye Baker and stuff. But there were others as well, and he, I really enjoyed that, and he, and then he was off the show for a while. But I do remember Steve Hartman from CBS when former President Bush passed away. It was not a joking segment; it was more of a serious segment. But Dana Carvey talked about the influence president, and they were very good friends. And it was just it was a touching type of piece. I remember that as well. So good to hear his voice.
All right, where were we? I want to go back to something we covered in the Morning Bell with Stephanie Bell, one of the big pieces of news. And I have yet to look up the populations. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, uscensusbureau.org, regarding populations today, or at least the latest population ratings, Centralia and Ashland. I haven't been able to check that out yet. So what I'm saying is Hannah, can you
Now, what have I told you before?
I know.
You need to just say what you want to say. This tiptoeing through the tulips crap drives me nuts.
Okay, but here's the thing that drives me nuts. Sometimes when I ask you to
Yes.
Sometimes when I ask you to do something, I feel like you're like I'm putting you out.
Sometimes.
Okay.
But I try to still do it.
Okay. I know, but I don't
It's like when your parents ask you to clean your room, even if you were gonna clean your room anyways. It's like, yeah.
It's like going and asking parents for money. You ever have to do that? But you're not. But you're not. That's what I just did with Hannah here. I'm a 20-year-old college student asking my parents for money, but I'm not asking for money. When I'm saying, hey, can you find the populations according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the latest numbers for Centralia and Ashland? Because Centralia, for a lot of years, second largest city in Boone County. Ashland, right behind that, may have changed by now.
It has changed.
So, are you on? Is that according to the U.S. Census Bureau?
We got numbers from the state officials, and according to those numbers, we were ahead.
I wonder how often they're updated.
Those were the official numbers from the actual census. The internet that Hannah cites is lagging behind. Our data was the current census data.
So here's the rub here.
What?
Well, Steph lives in Ashland. Hannah's a Centralia gal. But like asking your parents for money, because my kid, who I'm getting ready to go see this week, up until he's about 22, he would call and he wouldn't ask for money, but he would ask for money. You know what I mean?
That's me and babysitting right now. And my parents will tell. I feel terrible because I call and I'm like, how's it going? And then I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow night? What are you doing this weekend?
Are you free?
And they always know. I mean, and they're obviously they're happy to do it. And we're lucky to have grandparents so close. But I do feel like sometimes they're like, are you calling just because you need a babysitter? And that's not the case. But I do have a lot of help and need a lot of help. And they are usually glad to do it. But I wonder if they're thinking like you are you going to ask me for money? They're probably surprised when I don't ask. Like, what are you doing this weekend?
So we probably all, I don't know, maybe all, as kids, 18, 19, 20 years old, where you still need a little bit of help from mom and dad, but there's that pride about asking, like, oh. So I'm going to do everything I can to hint, and hopefully they'll get the point. My kid tried pulling this on me now he hasn't done it. He used to call me, and it got to the point I would sit there and just wait for him to ask for money. And I remember the first time, Steph, my son Trevor called me, and I'm sitting there on the phone like this going, because I'm just waiting for it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, well, good chatting with you. And he says, I'll see you later. And I'm looking at the phone, which I don't know why I was doing, but I'm looking at the phone like, he's not asking for money.
Yeah.
And then he kept doing it without asking for money. I was like, oh,
he's an adult.
He's an adult now. But he did it a couple of weeks ago, and I asked my dad, so what do? I go to the guy with experience that's got experience raising a kid like me. And I said to my dad, I think Trevor was trying to backhand ask me for some money. And I said, Dad, it was hard, but I didn't take the bait. And he said, good move.
It's one of the joys, I think, as a kid, one of the joys of my life to be able to surprise my parents every now and again with something really nice. And I remember the first time I got a big girl, I got a big girl job, and I was so excited. And my mom had the same silverware for 20 years. And it was all, and she could afford new silverware, but she didn't want to splurge on herself or whatever. And I remember she would talk about oh, this silverware is so nice or whatever. And I remember one year I was like, I'm going to do it. And I bought her a nice set of silverware, which wasn't, in the grand scheme of things, not a huge amount of money. But I remember she got teary at Christmas when I gave her a new set of silverware. And so I think, for those of us who've had to ask our parents for money throughout our lives, and they've supported us for school and everything else, it's so nice when you don't have to call and ask for money, and then occasionally when you can surprise the people who've supported you with a little surprise of their own.
So I would do that I backhandedly ask Hannah to help us with something. Population, U.S. Census Bureau. Hannah
I'm struggling to find it.
Oh, great.
Because the numbers were new when we first looked at it, so you could find those old census numbers, and now they've all been updated. So now everyone agrees that Ashland is bigger than Centralia.
I can't even find the town breakdowns. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It just wants to tell me the population of Boone County as a whole.
Uh-oh.
I'm doing something wrong. I'm pulling a Rathert.
So we know that as kids, or when our kids do that to us, we know you're asking for money, and Stephanie does it for babysitters. I want to go back to something we covered in the Morning Bell business news, that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. We're talking about this place coming into Ashland. It's a Taco Bell, but Chipotle closed in Maine because they're not saying because the store was unionizing there, but they're closing because, wink, wink, store's unionizing. Last week, story about a chain coffee shop, and you look at the cities, and at least it was Philadelphia, Portland, all these places. The Starbucks was closing down locations. And in every single one of those locations, here's what they all had in common. Number one, very progressive cities. And there's a point here. I'm not doing this just to poke at progressives and liberals. But they were all progressive cities, and everybody knows that some of these places, they're leaning towards unionization. And so the companies are saying, all right, we're just going to close up the shop. That's what we're going to do. But
they're not admitting to that.
Right.
And so the unions are accusing them of union busting. They're saying it was staffing shortages, and the unions are saying that's very conveniently timed. But, you have that option as a business owner. I mean, you got to weigh the pros and the cons and the expenses. And so same for some of these communities that are, was it Starbucks that closed 20 locations?
Yep. And they're all, you look them up, the vast majority of them, progressive cities, high crime. And the point being, it's not just to poke at those cities, because I don't care what happens in Philadelphia, but here's what we should be thinking about here in mid-Missouri. And we know there are some local city governments that are very much like this. It's that way of thinking. Let's unionize. That is a very progressive thing to do. Typically not good for business. But people, it's a good idea, we're going to unionize. That's a very progressive way of thinking. Let's make this bus station landmark. Let's make it a homeless warming place. It's not good for business, and we're seeing in one mid-Missouri city, we are seeing the effects of that and how it's bad for business and how that city council is chasing its tail, throwing money at a problem they created by making that in the first place. So, and here's the other thing. So they're saying it's not because you're wanting to start a union, we're shutting down because the crime rates in these areas are high. Guess whose fault it is that crime rates are high? Progressives. Mm-hmm. Defund the police. So if you're a new listener, you're a younger listener, it's not to criticize, it's a very teachable moment here, kids. You see how that works? That mindset of those let's defund the police. Okay. Hey, where'd all the police go?
I need an officer. I need help.
Yeah. Why did those businesses close? Because it's not safe. Well, how come? Because there ain't no police no more. Well, how come the stores closed? Because they're unionizing. You see? All right, coming up, we're going to open up the fridge, see what's in leftovers this morning. I will say this. I see usually there are always some goodies whenever we do leftovers here on 93.9 The Eagle. Just some things we didn't get to on the show.
The talk show for awesome folks like you. Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
We will always want to send a mobile crisis team out, if possible, when needed, rather than relying on law enforcement. There may be situations in which mobile crisis responders respond with law enforcement, and mobile crisis may take the lead on that response and law enforcement stands back.
Casey Muckler chatting with ABC 17. She's the state lead for that 988 number. That's the new crisis intervention hotline. I think people call it suicide prevention hotline, and then they rebrand it because it sounds bad. Just like we do with words. Well, that word sounds bad. Instead of homeless, let's call them unhoused. Well, what does unhoused mean? Homeless people. And about 20 years from now, we're going to change the word unhoused because that's going to sound bad. And that's the word treadmill. Anyhow, Casey Muckler, head of the 988, whatever you want to call that number for. It used to be you had to call that 1-800. That's what? That's 10, 11 digits in a 1-800 number? 7, 9? Yeah, math. 15 numbers in a 1-800. Now, I don't know how many numbers there are, but now it's 988. 988. Welcome into the show. Tomorrow, it's a Feel Good Friday on the show. What kind of things are happening on the show tomorrow?
Well, we're going to be joined by Jamie DeMint-Pringer from the Women's Business Center here in Columbia, and they have a whole bunch of resources and stuff. So if you're looking to start a business or grow a business, and they don't just help women, and so we've got a lot of small business owners I know already in the Wake Up Columbia family, but we've got a lot of people out there who might be looking to start a business or wanting to grow their small business. So she's going to be great. We'll also be joined by someone from the Southern Boone School District. Matt Sharp will be with us talking about some new happenings down there.
Feel Good Friday. We're going to be sporting red to remember everyone deployed. And we'd ask if you'd want, join us in wearing red.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers on 93.9 The Eagle. Enjoy.
All right, things that we ran out of time to do on the show, so we're opening up the fridge and grabbing for leftovers.
I've got a Facebook post we can talk about from the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
Okay.
Did you see what I posted of you from our photo shoot yesterday?
Yeah, I did. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, so for anyone who hasn't seen the Facebook post yet, Branden showed up to our...
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Branden showed up to our show photo shoot wearing like a suit on top, basically, jeans, and then flip-flops.
It is funny because it's a nice jacket and jeans and a white shirt. And
Stephanie grabbed a behind the scenes of you posing in the studio, and it just looks odd.
Which I owe you one, by the way.
Right. I can't wait till some of the bloopers come out from that photo shoot. They were pretty good the last time.
Anything for leftover stuff?
A lot of ham, apparently. Did you see this? Inflation's gotten really bad, but $1,000 for a ham?
So Boone County Fair continues, and God bless them, man. Temps is going to be warm, but they're doing the big ham thing. Some of those, that's expensive lunch meat.
But they're championship hams, so I guess they get auctioned off on Saturday morning at the big breakfast, and really good ham.
Why are they so expensive?
Because it takes like almost a whole year to cure them.
Now, do you eat them, though?
Yeah.
No, you hang them up and look at them.
Like for $1,000, why would I eat that? I'm going to frame it. And
why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Hang it on a wall or something and sign Da Vinci or something. See ya.
Bye.